Hey there, everybody, and welcome to this week's GDO show. Um, this week, I'm gonna be talking about cereal. it's gonna be it's gonna be really good, and something I didn't think about, or something that didn't occur to me when I was prepping for this show, is that there's a lot of cereal out there, So, I got a lot to talk about tonight, and as you can see, one of my splits here, I got extensive cereal reviews, so we're going to be going over a lot of it. So, I hope you guys enjoy this week's show. Let's begin. It's the GDO show. Alright, so, hello everyone. Garage Door Opener, your host for the GDO show. The GD show. That went through my head like when I was first making it up, but it was just like I just don't want to do it like that. It's a little too cheesy sounding, I mean, for me, so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it's always something on my mind. But um, So here we are, episode 5 of the GDO show. We're doing breakfast part 3. Now, this is going to be the last part I do on breakfast because I mean, the first week I talked about pancakes versus waffles versus French toast. And then last week I talked about eggs and breakfast meats and all the ways to make eggs and stuff. And this week I'm going to be talking about cold breakfast cereal. Now, I considered fusing cold and hot breakfast cereal into one topic, but then I thought, like, who even eats hot breakfast cereal anymore? Like, I mean, I know some people do, and I do occasionally sometimes too, just microwave some, like, Quaker oatmeal, whatever, put it, put in some milk, and there you go. It's nice and easy, but I mean, it's not really that fun to eat either. I mean, it's warm and you burn your face on it all the time, and that's just what happens to me anyway. Not gonna talk for anyone in the crowd, but I don't know. To me, I just I don't know what else there is. I mean there's oatmeal, there's porridge, which I'm sure are the same thing, and then there's cream of wheat, which I've never had warm. I've only ever had it cold because there's a really good Finnish dessert that's made out of cream of wheat called marjapula. But it's very delicious. It's like cream of wheat and like blackberry juice. But that's aside the point. It's more of a desserty thing rather than a breakfast thing. So, breakfast cereal. And I don't have much of a tier list like I would, but I have all the cereals written out. I'm sure I can write down something because I mean there's a lot of different thoughts that go around into making like some sort of like breakfast tier list for yourself. And I mean with so many breakfast cereals around, I can kind of picture in my head what I would put at the top. And I know my favorite cereals. I know them very well. I know how I like eating them, but that's just me alone. This is going to be the unpopular opinions episode of my podcast, as everyone in their mind has a very adamant, feeling of what cereals are good and which ones are not. So, um, this is pretty much going to be the one where everyone has thoughts. And if you have any opinions or anything, share them in chat. If you're watching on YouTube, I stream the show every Friday at 5 p.m. PDT. And if you're watching on Twitch right now, all the videos or all the shows will be available to watch again if you ever want to on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/garage door opener with a 0. That's garage door 0 penner. So that's pretty much for the intro. So I just wanted to get into a little bit of stuff before I got into the show, and this is just where I kind of unload what's been on my brain. So there's some been TUI stuff that's going on lately. Um, First off is my goals for 100%. I've finally put in an adamant feeling on where I want to carry that. I've decided for now that I plan on going until a 424. Right now, my current PB is a mid-high 427, so like a 427.40 something. Um, Last night, Mumbo Token got a 428.06 or '09 or something like that. Very close. So I'm literally sweating, literally sweating. He's definitely fast improving after going through a bit of a drought with PBs, and I don't know, it just feels good to see people improving like that. So um, I'm hoping I can do the same soon. But again, Mumbo Token puts in way more work than I do for PBing, so I think he definitely deserves to move on up to the third place slot on the leaderboard and can tackle Univin's time waiting up there. Um, but aside from that, 424 is my current goal. Once I even a low 425, I'd probably take like 425.10 or lower. And then after that, I plan on returning to no DCW and any percent no DCW. And as an aside, I do plan on continuously doing any percent with both because it's a short category, and when I just don't have time to do 100% or just don't have the drive to grind out the RNG for either category, it's nice to be able to kind of play something else on the side. So any percent will kind of be taking a backseat, I feel. Right now my any percent time it's within reach to me, I feel, but I would just need to grind out the luck because there's a lot of really big run killing things in it for me. So excuse me if I sound distracted, but my left eye is hurting like crazy and I'm trying to pull whatever it is that's upsetting it out, but I'm not having any luck, and as I say that, it's done. So anyway, those are my plans for TUI. The return to any percent no DCW is going to be pretty fun because it's easily my favorite category to run of the game. It's like 100% except without all the boring stuff in it. It's kind of taken out and it's all just kind of thrown back. So I'm hoping that it treats me well when I return, if I ever return, because I don't plan on returning until 100% is done, and you guys all know how that goes. So, um, so hopefully everything will be good, but I mean, you never know. Like, again, like, it's just the TUI taketh and the TUI giveth away, or whatever, the other way around. So next TUI thing to check off the list here is a while back I was chatting with Mumbo Token and Cole about a new TUI category that I think would be a silly category to run. Uh, all Jinjos. All Jinjos would be a really fun category, but the thing is, the definition is what makes it the silly and fun category. So what you need to do is, in the run, you collect all 45 Jinjos, but then, on top of that, you also have to kill all of the Minjos, and then you have to resurrect King Jingaling from his throne room. Save the Jinjos, save the Jinjo King, and defeat their evil imposters, the Minjos, and then you're done. So I thought that would be a really fun category to take on, but yeah, you never know. Like, with all the serious stuff I'm doing in TUI, it's just like is just like really funny. And yeah, Dingo Slayer. It's a I guess it's a common idea. It's just something to collect all the Jinjos. But the thing we thought would be really funny was also defeating the Minjos, because Minjos don't stay dead in Tui. They're still alive. Because they respawn like every enemy does. But all you have to do is like kill each Minjo once, and then after that you're done. So. Like, you only need to kill it once and then walk away. You don't need to keep killing the respawning Minjo. So anyway, there's that. The last little bit of Banjo thing is the Banjo-Kazooie task challenges. Brad, aka Hyper Resonance 92, has a task challenge that he does that he started now. He just finished showing the results for one of them today, actually, the Mumbo's Mountain task challenge for Banjo-Kazooie. And it's really cool seeing people task, because I mean, task is like frame by frame construction of a route, right? So people take I'm pretty sure everyone's using BizHawk for it, but the emulator BizHawk. But you take it, you do whatever the challenge is, and then at the end, Brad he shows all the results on stream, and you get to see some really interesting stuff and a lot of cool things you never seen before. The 8-bit Beast showed a route and he actually won the challenge with it, where he death warped while falling and collecting a Jiggy, and literally nobody knew it was possible to do that, and it was really interesting seeing. So it's stuff like that. It's just really cool. So he said he probably is gonna announce the next one tomorrow. If you're in the Banjo-Kazooie Discord, it's in the task channel. I'm sure maybe he might advertise it in Spiral Mountain as well, which is the general chat channel that isn't game specific. So I might mention it to him to maybe share it there, just to get some more people interested instead of just the task channel, and then all the details can be there, of course. But it's just something that's like something really cool. So if more people do that, I'm very bad at tasking, but seeing all the results made me think, oh, maybe this would be fun to like sit down and try and task something like this. So I don't know, maybe I might try it out. Maybe I'll learn how to task, and then who knows, maybe I can start doing like 2E stuff in the future. But I really doubt about that, just because, like, I don't know, I don't see tasking as like a hobby to get into. But I mean you never know. Like, it's something that takes a lot of time and effort to do. So I don't know, just something for everyone to do. And if you're not part of the Banjo-Kazooie Discord, you can reach out to someone on Twitch. There's a lot of people who have access to it, and I believe anyone can make links to join the Discord. So if you just go into a Banjo Runner stream and ask them to create a link for you, I'm pretty sure they can do that. And I'm just gonna test that out. Yeah, anyone can make links. I'm in the server and I can make links, so that's something good to know for those of you watching from YouTube who aren't in the know, or even Twitch who are in the know. So yeah. Okay, so the next topic I wanted to talk about is something that's been on my mind a lot, and it's streaming versus speedrunning. And this is something that I'm always fighting with in my head, because I have a lot of fun streaming, and I have a lot of fun speedrunning, because both of them seem to be hobbies. But for some reason, I think that all my speedruns need to be streamed. And I did a couple offline runs earlier on this week, because I just didn't want to stream. And then after it was done, I was just like, I could have just streamed that. Like, why didn't I do it? So I don't know if I'm going in and out of this mindset where I just don't want to stream anymore, but I want to keep doing runs. But at the same time, I've never really cared about streaming in itself, because for me, streaming has always been like, well, let me do a speed run so everyone can see. But the more time I spend on Twitch, the more time I want to like put effort into like having a better stream. So I'm kind of at this spot where it's like I don't know if I just want to take that and completely run with it. Like, do I want to like fully amp up my stream kind of thing? And I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about that right now. So I just wanted to share that outright. On top of that, I've been doing on top of that, I've been thinking about going back to creating more YouTube content from my streams because when I first started streaming, I completely abandoned my YouTube channel because I didn't have time to both stream and upload Let's Plays to YouTube. And so I completely stopped because there wasn't really anything going on with that. So I was like, well, whatever. I guess I'm just streaming on Twitch now. So I really don't know what I want to do with that. Like, I mean, I could locally record every one of my streams and then just like make funny little clips and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know if I want to do that because I stream off of a laptop. Everything I do is off of a laptop. I don't have a PC. And the problem I have with a laptop is that I have a lot of problems with video editors desyncing audio and video. And I don't know if that's a problem with my laptop or it's a problem with OBS capturing the video or if it's a problem with just the video editor I'm using. I haven't really looked into it that much, and so that's why I stopped like making videos in the first place or making game things because it just was a big problem. And this was something that was happening a couple of years ago when I ran the Banjo-Tooie bingo tournament. When I was trying to edit the videos together, I was having problems with audio desync in the videos, and so I had to keep fixing them, and it was just a big pain in the butt to do. Um, so that was just what was going on there. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, laptops are definitely underpowered. Like for the same amount of money you could put into a decent laptop, you could buy a PC that is much better. But laptops have that uh, can't even think of the word, that mobility that PCs don't, in that you can take them anywhere. But the thing is that I just leave my laptop on my computer desk hooked up to my second monitor. I never take it out because I hate having to plug all the cables back in. So, I mean, my laptop is essentially just a PC that is just underpowered. So, I've been thinking about getting a PC just because of that reason. But at the same time, like, I don't really need to because my laptop works just fine. So, I I don't know. I feel like it would just be a waste of money getting a PC, but on top of that, like I feel like I could do a lot more if I had one instead of a laptop. And I don't play a lot of games on my laptop either. Like the max I get is like some Steam games. Like I play a lot of Binding of Isaac, and I mean I watch a lot of Twitch, but that's about it. Like I don't play any like AAA titles or like, you know, Overwatch. Well, Overwatch doesn't really need that great of a PC, I don't think, but you know, games that you can run on their max settings like StarCraft and PUBG and all this kind of stuff. Um, so I'm debating whether or not I want to get a good streaming PC so that way I can have that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I also go through areas where I'm not feeling great and I don't want to stream. So do I really want to put this much work into my stream when I only stream like maybe 2 or 3 times a week? So that's just kind of the thoughts I've been having. And on top of that, I'm fine with speedrunning. I love speedrunning still. It's just it's the main thing I put my time into when I'm gaming, practicing, doing runs, and then you know maybe some Hearthstone in the background just to not get myself completely bored. but I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, just because there's not a whole lot more to say about that. It's just something that I'm just talking out loud about, and I mean, most of my viewers come for 2E speedrunning anyway, so I mean that's fine in itself. I don't mind doing that because I love the community and I love doing it because I'm I've put a lot of time into it, so of course I would, right? So I don't know. Thinking about whether or not I want to keep streaming at like a higher higher rate, or just not. Like, do I want to fill my stream with all this stuff that viewers eat up, or do I want to kind of keep the way I've been doing with kind of a lax stream and stuff like that? I mean, so that's that. So now we can start on the topic for the week, and I don't know why my splits are showing so far up, but whatever, we'll scroll all the way down so you can see the rest of them. So, kid cereal versus adult cereal. Now, I don't really have a lot to say on this first topic because I mean, it's, people like what they like. When you go to most grocery stores, you'll see two very distinct sections of cereal. And usually they're completely separate, but sometimes they have some flipped around this way or that. On one end, you have what people call adult cereal, which is cereal that is like, it's meant to be good for you, but it's kind of meant to taste good, but it's got this and that in it and stuff like that. And I mean, some of them are good and some of them are bad, and I'll talk about all of them in depth later on that I have experience with. I went to 3 different shopping centers, and I went to the cereal aisles, and I took pictures of all the boxes, and it's a pretty good idea of all the cereal that I've dealt with. There's a lot of cereal that I ate when I was a kid in like the 90s that I can't find anymore, and right before the show started, Crunchy Nut. Yeah. We got something similar called like multigrain crunch, which is kind of like Cheerios and oatmeal crisp together. But I'll get into that. Anyway, there was a cereal that I ate when I was a kid, and it was a really fruity tasting cereal. And I can't remember what it was called because it was like a cereal that I think I only had like once when I was like 10 or something like that. But it was something that really stood out to me in terms of flavor because I haven't had anything like it since. It kind of had like the same taste as like Trix cereal, but it was definitely different. I'm pretty sure it was like dinosaur themed or something like that. I had a look on Google at like fruity cereals. Let me try googling 90s breakfast cereals because this is just gonna bug me so much. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna talk about a lot of these. This is something I didn't think of doing before the show started. This is like looking at this cereal from the 90s is bringing a lot of memories back, but I'll get through them in the end. Um, so so adult cereal, they're generally plain, generally healthy, generally, well, not really healthy, but they don't have a lot on them. Then you have family cereal, or what I'm going to call for the sake of this week, kid cereal. They call it family cereal, but it really is kid cereal. I'm talking like sugar-coated, honey-coated, whatevers, like chocolatey, flavorful, colorful cereal. And in my opinion, there isn't beating kid cereal. Like, kid cereal is definitely the way to go when it comes to buying cereal. And I mean, there are a lot of exceptions. I like cereals all over the board. Oops All Berries is the only way I can eat Captain Crunch, to be honest, but we don't have that around here, so I won't really talk about it. I'll talk about it briefly, but I mean, I'll talk about everything briefly. I got a long list to take over. So, um, so kid cereal, adult cereal. Then there's that area in the middle that's like the fringe section. And this is stuff it's an adult cereal. I feel I think the best way to describe this, and I think a lot of people can see where I'm getting at, is that it's a kid cereal disguised as an adult cereal. And it's these cereals that I think really are like truly the best in my opinion. Like an example of all three I can give. Okay, so a really good example of an adult cereal is uh, Vector cereal. Vector, in my opinion, is like the epitome of like an adult cereal. Something that's not like too like it's just wheat in a box. Something like 100% bran or Fiber One, something like that, compared to compared to Vector, which is just like it's a nice crunchy cereal. I don't have I do have pictures that I could show. I took a whole ton of pictures of when I went out, and so I could show one that has the Vector. There's a lot in this episode. There's going to be a lot of discrepancy in terms of what people have and have not heard of, just because of the way that branding works. Oh, of course, it's going to be on its side. Um, this is like the corner of like a Vector cereal box. So Vector is like they're like little bran flakes, but then it's got like little bits of nut in them, and I mean that's like the baseline of all cereals. Like I think having the two of them is like pretty standard. To be fair, it's like you got some sort of bran, you got some sort of sweet thing covering the bran just so they don't instantly go soggy, and then you got like I don't know, some nut in them or something like that. So that's a really good example of an adult cereal. Now, really good example of a kid cereal. The first thing that always comes to my mind is Sugar Crisp. Sugar Crisp is like Rice Puffs. It's like Rice Puff cereal, except it's just covered in sugar and honey. And they're really good actually, but they're one of those cereals for me that's a little too sugary. Like I'm not a huge fan of Sugar Crisp just because it's like literally sugar in a box. And when I like going for flavor as well as like instead of just like its sugar content. So, I mean, when you're going for that, it's like it's great, but is it really great? But anyway, good example of a kid cereal. Um, an example of a fringe cereal, something I would put in the middle, is something like mini wheats. Like mini wheats is like it's a little ball of shredded wheat. Well, not really ball, it's more of like a nugget of shredded wheat. But then it has on it some sort of like frosting, and they're usually only ever frosted on one side. So having that frosting is like it's really nice and it's really sweet, but then it's also a bunch of shredded wheat together. So I mean, you could argue that it's one or the other. Like I I like eating mini wheats with without milk because I think they're just like I don't know. I think they're a good like crunchy snack, but you never know. Like You could have them with milk, but because it's like, just like ball of shredded wheat, the milk kind of soaks in or just goes around them. And like you know how when you pour milk into cereal, everything rises, and then you got cereal pouring out of your bowl everywhere. With mini wheats, the milk just kind of fills in the spaces, and the cereal is pretty heavy because the blocks are pretty thick, so it doesn't move at all. So it just doesn't move. um, so that's why I don't like having milk with it. But at the same time, it's good with milk too because it makes the sweetness of the milk and the sugar kind of eats together at the bran or the wheat, and it's kind of good. So um, in the end, it's all people's opinions on terms of kid versus adult cereal. So last night, I put out a message on Twitter asking people who are following me to tell me what their favorite kid cereal was and what their favorite adult cereal was. And I woke up this morning to 24 notifications, and I've gotten a few more like today. So I want to look through those before I want to look through those before I start on with my list because I want to find out what other people really like. And I haven't read through a ton of them today because I wanted to save the experience for the show. So I'm not going to keep them anonymous either. I could, but unless people tell me otherwise, I'm not going to. And I did say that for use on my show. So we're gonna hear what everyone's favorite cereals are. If you'd like, every now and again, I post every now and again I post little things to kind of gather information for use for the show on Twitter. And so if you want to be a part of that and kind of participate in one of my polls or something like that, or answer a question, you can either ask in chat and I can tell you, or you can follow me on Twitter at GDOpener, GDOPENER, and so that's just how you become a part of that. Don't feel like that you have to. It's not required. It's just something interesting for me to see because I love looking at what people have to say. So Shadowlinky lives in Europe, and he said that his favorite cereal was Chalk O's, and I'd never heard of those before. Um, I don't know if they're a Kellogg cereal that are just like over the water, or if I don't know if you guys have them in the States either. Um, for those of you watching, who haven't watched before, I live in Canada. I live on the west coast of Canada, and so I don't have a lot of access to a lot of a lot of cereals that exist in the States. Like for example, I don't think I've ever seen Fruity Pebbles in a grocery store, but see them in the States or heard of people eating them in the States. So it's good stuff. Um, so just something to keep in mind while I'm going over the list here. Um, at Skell Jazzwiz says Nutter Butter cereal or French Toast Crunch for kids cereal, and Oatmeal Crisp for adult cereal. Um, I had actually never ever heard of Nutter Butter cereal until today when I went to Walmart and I saw Nutter Butter cereal and I thought, I really like peanut butter flavor, so I wonder what that tastes like. So I bought some Nutter Butter cereal and I actually had a handful of it before I started the show because I was like, I wonder what this tastes like. I wonder if I'm gonna like it. So I took a small mouthful of Nutter Butter cereal, and it was incredibly. Uh, I guess the word for it is peanut buttery. Highly recommended, but it's very very covered in like a peanut butter flavored sugar. Oatmeal Crisp. That's a good adult choice. Um, at the Dickiscon said his favorite kid cereal is Reese's Puff cereal, and his favorite adult cereal is Raisin Bran. At Nanyan says Honey Nut Cheerios for adult and Fruit Loop for kids. um, at Leslie Dainty thinks the same thing. Thanks for stealing my tweet. um, at Nylum says Life cereal for adult cereal and Fruity Pebbles for kid cereal. Um, at Glorious Liar says good opinion right there, so I guess his is the same. Um, yeah, Dingo Slayer in the chat says I say Lucky Charms for kid cereal and Honey Nut Cheerios for adult. Um, at the Deacon 64, Reese Puff cereal for kid cereal and Honey Nut Cheerios for adult. Pumpkin Puffins are also a fave, but I don't know if they're a kid or adult cereal. I've actually never heard of Pumpkin Puffins. I'm gonna Google this. Pumpkin Puffins definitely look like, they almost look like corn squares. Corn squares cereal, except they're probably pumpkin flavored. Made by Barbara's. Yeah, I've never seen that one. When I searched pumpkin puffins, I got pumpkin spice mini wheats, and that's actually the other cereal that I bought today. So hopefully it's good. I don't know how it tastes, but I'm sure it tastes like any sort of pumpkin flavored cereal. Let's see, what else do we have? At King KC13 says Reese's Puffs, but like Cocoa Pebbles or Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Old School Tricks or Nesquik or Fruity Pebbles or everything Captain Crunch with Oops All Berries taking the crown. Bump Old People cereal, never landing that like my boy Peter Pan does, unless Cinnamon Life counts. They're great. It's a funny tweet to read. I would have to say Reese's Puff, but I mean everything he said there is pretty good. Again, I've only ever had Trix like back when I was like super young, because we don't really carry it anywhere around here. But at Fanatic Dreamer says adult cereal, Honey Bunches of Oats, Vanilla Almond. That's a good choice. And favorite kid cereal is Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. I've never heard of Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. I didn't know that there was a Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. I've only ever seen, like, the regular Captain Crunch, the Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, and then the Captain Crunch Oops All Berries. Yeah, Dingo, I was thinking about getting a getting a bowl of cereal before I started doing this, but then I thought, no, I want to stay unbiased in my thing. Like, I already know what I think, but I didn't want to be eating a cereal and just be eating while doing this, because that just sounds terrible to listen to. Peanut Butter Captain Crunch sounds really good. I'm not a huge fan of Captain Crunch just because of the way it's kind of sharp on the mouth, and I've had some injuries eating it in the past. But, I mean, that's literally my own fault. So, it's it is the way it is there. At Mumbo Token, Cocoa Pebbles and Raisin Nut Bran for his. Crave is my favorite, of course, but it's more of an in-between adolescent cereal. At Mr. Boris Yeltsin, French Toast Crunch and Cracklin' Oat Bran. I've only ever seen Cracklin' Oat Bran on like in like a parody video. I didn't know it was actually a real cereal until I read this. Cracklin' Oat Bran, I don't know, I haven't even heard of that cereal, to be honest. Like, I don't know what's in it, but French Toast Crunch is a very good choice. At Melissa BMIT says Fruit Loops and regular Cheerios. Those are good choices. At Leslie Dainty again says Honey Nut Cheerios and Fruit Loops, compared to earlier when Nanyan says, yeah, Honey Nut Cheerios and Fruit Loops. I would have really thought that Nanyan liked Fruity Pebbles over Fruit Loops, because he seems to eat those a lot. But you know, definitely a surprising one there. Um, Next up, at Ganabrader says Cocoa Krispies for kids cereal, and for non-kids, Honey Bunches of Oats. It's a good one. Your roommate just bought Captain Crunch, peanut butter Captain Crunch today. That sounds good. And sorry, Earfolds, I missed you. For favorite kid cereal, Cookie Crisp. Favorite adult cereal, Crunchy Nut. Is that just all it's called? Just Crunchy Nut? I've never heard of just Crunchy Nut cereal, but I'm sure it's tastes exactly how it sounds, just crunchy nuts. um, oh, okay. At Blondie 093, gotta go with Cocoa Puffs and the Captain Crunch or Captain and all the Captain cereal because that's legendary. Also Lucky Charms, but only the marshmallows. And as far as adult cereal, Lucky Charms, but that's. And as far as adult cereal, Lucky Charms, but like with the other whole grain crap shapes added to the marshmallows. I don't know what kind of cereal that is. I would consider Lucky Charms a kid cereal, TBH, but I've never heard of a Lucky Charms cereal except it was all marshmallows. That sounds really really sweet. I don't know how I feel about that. At One Up Girl 27 says Reese's Puff cereal and Mini Wheats for the kids cereal or for adult cereal. At Professor Pollywag or Prof Polly says Oreo O's cereal and Frosted Mini Wheats. I haven't had Oreos in a long time, but it kind of reminds me like I remember seeing a commercial for Oreo O's back when I was a kid, and it was like it was just like really good. The most adult cereal that exists is just milk toast. Lightly toast a slice of bread, cut it up, and pour milk over it. I mean, that sounds really easy to eat, but it also sounds like you're just eating soggy bread. I don't know if I'd call that a cereal, but I mean, it just depends on what you consider a cereal. Like, I mean, let's not get back into this, what is a sandwich debate. But at the Filaire says Special K with chocolate chunks as adult cereal and kids cereal, Lucky Charms. I didn't actually know that they made Special K with chocolate in it, but that sounds very delicious. Special K was my mom's favorite cereal that I can remember growing up. She always had Special K and Mini Wheats, and that's why I started liking Mini Wheats. At the Cosmic Heart says Rice Corn Chex. Where's the love for those? I completely agree. I think they're great. I like Honey Nut Chex myself, but that's good. Kids cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or Frosted Flakes. Special K Almond is very good. I prefer the one with the berry in it myself, but there's a ton of different Special K cereals out there nowadays, and a lot of them are good. So, at Cute Spied says kids cereal is probably Corn Pops, and adult cereal is Totes Honey Bunches of Oats, with a preference for the elusive chocolate flavor. I'm boring, I know. Chocolate, I've never heard of chocolate Honey Bunches of Oats. I've seen like regular Honey Bunches of Oats, and then they got like. Actually, I'm pretty sure I've only ever heard of the regular Honey Bunches of Oats. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard of any other kind of that. Let's see what we got here. At Emo Arbiter, Cocoa Puffs and regular Cheerios. At Reizu Saharu says Golden Grams and Corn Flakes. At Phantasma, Special K fruit and yogurt or vanilla, and for non kids and Cinnamon Toast Crunch as kid cereal. Uh, Secret Humor Man, favorite kid cereal is Cookie Crisp, and favorite adult cereal is Quaker Oat Squares with brown sugar. Um, at Irither _ Honey Nut Cheerios for non-kid and Captain Crunch for kid. Uh, at Hendrix8 Twitch, favorite kid cereal is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Favorite non-kid cereal is Vanilla Honey Bunches of Oats. And at Johannian X, or Johannian X, I don't know how to pronounce that, Cocoa Pebbles and Frosted Mini Wheats. And so those are all the notifications that I got as far as cereals. And then I got from you guys in the chat too. I don't know if anyone else wants to share what their favorite adult and favorite child kid cereals are, or fringe somewhere in the middle. It's usually one or the other, but I mean there's that borderline that people don't exactly know what to cross. So I guess I can give my favorite as well. Um, since I would probably reveal this in my tier list, but at the same time, like it's not going to be very extensive. Um, you know what? I'll leave it off until my tier list. I'll keep you guys hanging for a little bit. So that's pretty much it for the Twitter response for cereal, and man, now I'm just going through like this Google of a 90s breakfast cereal, and I'm seeing a lot of things that I didn't even know like existed, or things that I saw once when I was a kid and like I never bought it, and man, it's just like like this Pokemon cereal with like Pokemon shaped marshmallows in it. Captain Crunch, Deep Sea Crunch, Dunkin' Donut cereal, which I think is a little too old for me. I don't think I ever heard of that one. Honey Smacks. I've never heard of Honey Smacks cereal. Peanut Butter Reese's Peanut Butter Puff cereal. I mean we still have Reese's cereal, but Honey Smacks is good. Yeah, I've never heard of Honey Smacks. Pop-Tart cereal. Apparently there was a Dunkaroos cereal. Oh no, this is just Dunkaroos. It's just reliving the 90s. Razzle Dazzle Rice Krispies. Just looks like colorful Rice Krispies. There was a Reptar cereal. Reptar cereal sounds pretty good actually. And I mean everyone watched Rugrats back then too, so it was like I don't know, it just sounds like the cereal. It's a Ghostbuster cereal. Kix? I've never heard of that. Apple Jacks. I'll talk about that later. We don't have that, so. Choco Donuts cereal. Oh, Captain Crunch's Choco Donuts. I haven't heard of that either. Ooh, the old French Toast Crunch. Before they changed it to like look like French toast. Before when it looked like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, except it was just French Toast Crunch. Cocoa Pebbles. Donkey Kong Jr. cereal. Mr. T cereal. Dunkaballs. Rocky Road. Sprinkle Sprangles. Some of this is just like... I mean, I guess they came up with every sort of thing, like... Yeah, I don't know. Waffle Crisp? I had that once. Dude, Waffle Crisp is like a worse version of French Toast Crunch, if I can remember properly. I remember having that when I was a kid. Before I go on to my list, I'm gonna see like if I Google 2000s breakfast cereals. Oh, the Simpsons cinnamon donut cereal. I remember that. The Pokemon cereal. Millennios, which were like it was like Cheerios except they were branded for like the year 2000. A lot of these are some of the ones I've already read. Cocoa Bombs, Smoochies, E.T. breakfast cereal. Honey Nut Clusters. There's Waffle Crisp again. I think the big one here that it keeps showing over and over is the Simpsons Homer's Cinnamon Donut cereal. Golden Oreos. Oreo O's. I've never seen the golden ones. That sounds good too. Krusty O's. Captain Crunch Galactic Crunch. Cruncheroo. Oh, Cruncheroos. That is going back. C3POs. I mean, it was just like if you want to make a cereal, just make them round and Cheerio based, and then just kind of make them O's. Okay, anyway, going on to my extensive cereal review. So this is going to be an exhaustive list. I went to 3 different grocery stores and I wrote down as many different kinds of breakfast cereals as I could because I mean it just seemed like the best way to do it. Um, there's there's a lot of kind of overlap with like breakfast cereal in terms of where it is. So I don't know if I put that much importance on being able to say your cereal out loud. I don't know what that means. But either way. Um, oh, O's. Yeah, right. Alright. So I kind of started my list with all the kids cereal, and I'm slowly working my way down to adult cereal. I don't know if that's the way you guys want to go about doing this. I'm just asking for the sake of interest. In the end, they'll all get read. But do people want me to start at the bottom with the adult cereals or at the top with the kid cereals and kind of save the best for last kind of thing? Because I can go in either direction. I think for the sake of doing this, I'm probably going to start with the adult cereals and work my way back down to the kid cereal, and that's what Earfold said in chat too. So I'm glad I can do that for you. So adult cereals for me, a lot of them I find just really boring. Like, there's not a whole lot to say about cereals that are just like ingredients. And I have eaten a lot of them in the past because I eat a lot of cereal. Like I have eaten a lot of cereal in my life. And so that's just why I say that. So I'm gonna start with some of the more boring cereals. Obviously, some of these I haven't had before. I've only ever seen the box, but very few of them have I not had before. In the kid cereal section, there's like maybe 2 or 3 that I haven't had, but in the adult section, there's many more. So I'll kind of get there, and then I'll slowly start going back and forth between fringe cereals because it's really hard to tell exactly what is meant for kids and what is meant for adults, and I mean what is meant for just all ages because that's the way cereal was made to be eaten. So the first cereal at the very bottom of the list, and it's only at the bottom because this is like one of the more adult cereals I could think of is Weetabix. Now, Weetabix is like just, it's like, I don't even know how to like describe it. Like, Weetabix is like these discs of grain, and like they're they're like these large discs. Like, it's barely cereal. It's, you could like club someone to death with a Weetabix. And there are people out there, I'm sure, who really enjoy eating it, but it's like they're not, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's like shredded wheat that's been woven together, but it's thick. It's not just shredded wheat. Like, just shredded wheat woven together is how I would describe a mini wheat. Like a mini wheat, or like shredded wheat cereal. Like, it's just shredded wheat, but Weetabix is like, it's got other ingredients in it too, and it's like a furry, not really furry, but it's thick. It's like a granola bar almost. And I don't I just don't know how people can eat it. Like, you pretend to eat it while your parents are around, then when they leave, you crack open the sugar-coated sugar. I mean, that's pretty much how it goes. Like, I, I don't know. I don't really have anything more to say about Weetabix other than it's just like that. Um, the other one that goes with Weetabix is shredded wheat cereal. Now, shredded wheat cereal is the same thing. It's like Weetabix except without all the filler stuff in it. So it's like literally two big chunks of shredded wheat. And there's the original shredded wheat, which is just the big ones, but then they also have spoon-sized shredded wheat, which is like, it's like the same thing except they're spoon-sized, so it's more like cereal. It's like mini wheats except without the sugar coating on it. So it's just plain wheat. But then they also carry different kinds of shredded wheat. There's a regular one, which, yeah, shredded wheat bite size is the name of it, but I'm pretty sure on the box it says spoon sized in Canada. Let me quickly look at my picture here. I took a bunch of pictures of all my cereal just so I could go back and review in case I needed to. Yeah, it's called spoon-sized shredded wheat. And I mean, shredded wheat doesn't have a mascot in Canada. Like, that's one thing I found out last month, is that the mini wheat's mascot is different in Canada and the United States. Like, it's not the same mini wheat dude. So, yeah. I mean, Shreddies is much better than shredded wheat, but I'll be getting to Shreddies soon. Shreddies is in the kid cereal section because it kind of is, but it's kind of not. Like, basically, when I was a kid, I put sugar on Shreddies, so that's just what it is for me. But anyway, that's how it is. So anyway, spoon-sized shredded wheat or bite-sized shredded wheat, it's kind of the same thing, but there's different kinds. Like, so we have the original shredded wheat, then there's the original bite-sized shredded wheat, and then there's a bran spoon-sized shredded wheat, which is like, it's the same stuff except like I guess it has like little chunks of bran in it. I've never had the bran one. I've only ever had the original one. But I think it's just like a combination of shredded wheat and shredded bran together, and that's just how it is. And then the other one we have is spoon-sized dark chocolate shredded wheat. And it's the same thing. It's the same shredded wheat, except it's got dark chocolate melted into it. So it's not like a scent or anything. I think it's just like chocolate flavored shredded wheat. So those ones aren't that bad. I've only ever had them in like sample form. I've never had them with milk or anything. I've only ever had them on their own. The only one I've ever had with milk is the regular bite-sized shredded wheat. So, I mean, it's okay, but it's not great. I mean, it is what it is. Um, Next cereal up is Just Right, and Just Right is another one of those adult cereals that's like, I mean, it's pretty good, but I mean, like, there's a billion other things that taste the same as it. Um, I don't actually know all the ingredients in Just Right cereal. I've only ever known people that have eaten it. Let's look at the ingredient list here. Of course, on the website it doesn't list the ingredients or the allergens, only the size on the product description. But Just Right cereal is, I mean, it's flakes, and I'm sure it's got seeds. I'm sure it has some sort of honey flavoring or something like that, because just just the way it looks. But it's one of those cereals I just don't have any opinion on. Let's have a look at a close-up on the box. We got corn, rice, wheat. I don't actually know if it's a plain cereal or not. Yeah. So I'll just have to leave it at that, I guess. Um, the next one on my list here is Harvest Crunch. And Harvest Crunch cereal is a Quaker cereal. And Harvest Crunch has a couple different flavors. There's an original one, and then there's one that's got like raisins in it. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's a raisin almond. I think it's raisin almond. Harvest Crunch raisin almond. And then both there's like a light and then there's a raisin almond light. So I mean, I'm pretty sure those are the only ones that exist around here. At least those are the ones I only ever saw when I went to grocery stores. But I've had the original one before, and I mean it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just like, I mean, ooh, I looked one up on Google. There's a chocolate one too. That sounds pretty good too. But I mean, this cereal is kind of like, it's like eating granola almost in terms of like what it's made out of. But then it's got like the original one has sliced almonds in it as well. And then I think it's pretty crunchy too, as the name would suggest, Harvest Crunch. But basically, it's like a granola cereal, and I actually don't mind it. It's really good, but again, it's one of those cereals that's like, if it has small bits and it's crunchy, I'm not a huge fan of those kind of cereals, just because, like, I don't know, a lot of this kind of stuff just kind of gets in between my teeth. And so that's always one thing I think of when I eat stuff like that, or things like oatmeal crisp. If you guys don't know what any of these cereals are, feel free to follow on Google as well, because Google has good pictures and descriptions of everything. Asmi, I didn't hear from you your favorite cereal, your favorite adult and kid cereal. I don't know if you have one there. Next cereal on the list that I got down is Mueslix. Mueslix has a lot of stuff in it. Like, Mueslix is like, it's flakes. I'm pretty sure it's cornflakes, but then and by cornflakes I don't mean cornflake cereal. I just mean like flakes of corn, like most cereals have as bases. But then it's also got like nuts and berries in it, and I don't know if it has berries. I think it's just raisins. But Mueslix is another one of those, cereals. It's just like, you eat this, it's kind of healthy, it tastes kind of sweet. Maybe you'll like it. I've only ever seen like a regular Mueslix cereal, but I'm sure there are other ones that exist out there. But raisins are berries that hate you. I actually like raisins. Like, raisins are like, I don't know, I just really like raisins. Okay, next cereal up is 100% bran. And I mean, 100% bran is just like, I mean, that's all it is. It's literally bran in a box. Like, I think on the front of the box they show just a bowl of it and you pour milk into it. And I mean, I just couldn't imagine doing that. Like, 100% bran is one of those cereals that's just like, it's why. Why would you ever hurt your body by giving yourself just bran? Like, at least at least put a delicious cereal like in there. But I'm gonna group 100% bran cereal with Fiber One because Fiber One and 100% bran are basically the exact same cereal. Like I don't know a single difference between the two. Like they're just like little flakes of unflavored bran chunk. And I mean, Fiber One does have a Fiber One Honey Clusters cereal, which does taste good and it is sweet and it has some Fiber One in it, but then it's also got some honey corn flakes. And I mean, there's at least 60% air in the box. Yeah. I mean, the cereal though, the cereal is just 100% bran. So, I mean, Fiber One and 100% bran are cereals that are, I mean, they're a lot of bran. Like per serving, there's like 30 grams it shows on the box of fiber. But for me, growing up, I mixed Fiber One in with other cereals, like because I Fiber One is just really flavorless on its own, and 100% bran is too. But I mean, like if you mixed both of them in with another cereal when you ate it, like pour some Cheerios in a box, pour in some bran, and then just eat that. Like you're getting a decent cereal that you like the taste of, and then you're also getting some fiber out of it. So it's kind of like a cereal additive, but I don't know why they would ever market it as like its own cereal. Like it just the thought of eating just it, and I have before because I used to eat a lot of Fiber One as a child. It's just really, or as a teenager, I mean, it's just really disgusting sounding. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. So while we're on the topic of bran, the next cereals that I can talk about here are All Bran Buds. The All Bran Buds cereal is kind of the same thing as the 100% bran Fiber One, except it's like little buds instead of like little bran strips. And I mean, they're like a third the size or something like that. But I mean, it's still not good. It's like just mix it with other cereal and it tastes good. They don't even show it as like being in a cereal. Like an All Bran Bud box shows the All Bran Buds in like a parfait, which is fair. But I mean, like, I want to eat cereal. I don't want to eat it with yogurt. Like, just give me the cereal. Put the cereal in the box and walk away, kind of thing. So that's just how I feel about All Bran Buds. All Bran Flakes, though. All Bran Flakes is a decent cereal. It's kind of the same thing in terms of just like it's just bran flakes, but at least they have a little bit more substance to them than Buds. Because I mean, All Bran Buds are like just solid chunks of bran, but when you flatten them out, at least they get a little soggy in milk. So I don't mind the All Bran flakes myself. And then on top of that, they have All Bran Crunch, which is like a combination kind of like All Bran Crunch cereal, or sorry, it's called All Bran Multigrain Crunch. My bad. All Grain Multigrain Crunch is like it's like eating bran Cheerios, except crunchy. So it's like eating Honey Nut Cheerios, but without being covered in honey. Like like I know it's weird to think about, but I mean that's kind of exactly what it is. Like they're just like hearts and O's that are round and bran excuse me, bran like shaped. So I don't really know what to say more about that. I've never had the All Bran Multigrain Crunch. I've only ever had the bran flakes and the bran buds, but I'm sure they're delicious to someone. The next cereal, which is even I'm slowly like going in terms of like what I think is least exciting to most exciting. By the way, I'm kind of also going in order with how I saw them on the shelf. So The next cereal is Alpen cereal, and I've actually never had Alpen cereal. I've seen lots of people buy it, but it's kind of like a muesli kind of cereal. Like it's got chunks of like raisin, I'm sure, and it looks like it's got chunks of nut and bran in it. And then, I mean, it's also probably got seeds. It looks like, I'm not sure, but if it's like muesli, then I mean, I'm sure it tastes somewhat good. Like Alpen cereal is something. It looks like it has berries in it too, but they also have one that without salt in it. So there's like one with no sugar, and then there's one with no salt as well. So, and then there's one with no both, I guess. So I don't know. You can make it healthier than it is, but I've never had Alpen cereal, so I can't really talk about it. One more cereal that I've never had before, and this is the last one for a while that I haven't ever had because it's just another one of those boring cereals to me. Is Edge cereal. Um, Edge is like an extra protein kind of cereal that they have. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Looking at pictures, it is very, very large flakes. Like holy moly! But I'm not exactly sure what's in it. Um, there's two flavors that I carry at my grocery store that I work at. There's like a honey one and there's a maple one. But I'm pretty sure that it's just like big chunks of uh, branny stuff, and then there's like some nuts in it, and then the flavor. Again, I'm just guessing at this one, just because I've never had Edge cereal, but that's just me. So that's it. That's it for the cereals I'm unaware of. Um, for now, there's some that I haven't. Next one is Vector cereal. And I know someone in chat earlier said they'd never seen Vector cereal before. I don't know if it's everywhere. I just assumed it was because it's like, I mean, it's a pretty standard breakfast cereal. Vector is like they're flakes, but they're these really really crunchy flakes. Like Vector is a very very crunchy breakfast cereal. And it's one of the more healthier breakfast cereals as well. Um, I can't remember what's used to sweeten it, but I think it's I think it's honey. Like I'm not entirely sure, but Vector is like it's one of those cereals that's I don't know, like it's another cereal that isn't exciting, and yeah, it's that's how it's marketed as like a meal replacement. But I mean, it's still just a breakfast cereal. So I'm pretty sure that it's just like it's supposed to have all, your protein and stuff like that in it too. But at the same time, like the only funny story I have about Vector is that again, I work grocery store and I work in the online shopping section, and so a lot of people do their online shopping, right? Well, one of the people that bought the Vector cereal from us once chipped their tooth on it, and I was like, really? Like, like this stuff is strong enough to do that? I wasn't expecting it at all. So yeah, I'm not sure. Looking at the website here, like you can order it off of Amazon.ca, Kellogg's.ca, delivergrocery.ca. I think it is a CA cereal because there's a lot of websites here that are just based in Canada. There's a lot of places you can get like the vectorgranolabars.com, like we have Vector protein bars and granola bars and stuff like that, but that's different. Yeah, so maybe it is a Canadian only cereal. That's one of the things that you never realize when you live in Canada is exactly how much stuff is Canadian only, because you know how much stuff is American only because you can't ever buy it. And that comes up a lot. Like there's a lot of A lot of fast food places I've never been to just because they're American only. Or if you guys know me very well, you'll know that I love eating Cheez-Its, and I'm pretty sure Cheez-Its are an American only thing as well, because I've never been able to find any place up here that sells them, and that's why I stocked up at AGDQ or SGDQ last year. Yeah, I've never seen Cheez-Its anywhere in Canada. We have Cheese Nips, just not Cheez-Its. So, okay, so next breakfast cereal that now we're starting to get into the better tasting stuff, in my opinion, is corn flakes. Now, corn flakes are very, very plain, and they're pretty much like the branching path for me between an adult cereal and a fringe cereal, because cornflakes don't really have anything on them. They're not sugared or anything or flavored. They're just flakes of nothing. And I really enjoy cornflakes, but that's just me. Like the reason I like cornflakes is exactly because they taste like nothing. Like, yeah, cornflakes are the gateway drug to adult cereal. Once you start eating cornflakes, it's like, now I want to try those Frosted Flakes. Cornflakes I really enjoy because they go soggy really, really fast in milk. And I really enjoy eating certain cereals when they've been really sogged. And the thing about cornflakes that I really like is that they sog together, and so you can taste your milk. And cornflakes have a really interesting flavor that they give to the milk, and so that's why I enjoy eating cornflakes. It's just like when the corn and flake like kind of dissolve itself into the milk, it just makes this really nice flavor. And on top of that, you can eat a lot of them at a time because they're really thin flakes. So by the time they've all clumped together by being like sogged down in milk, all of a sudden you have like this giant mass of cornflake on your spoon, and then you have like this giant mass on your spoon, and like it's just delicious. And I'm not opposed to things that don't go soggy in milk. I really enjoy like things that keep their crunch. But I mean, I'm just saying the reason why I like cornflakes is because they don't. And if they did stay crunchy, I mean that wouldn't be a problem. But they don't taste like anything, so I can't really enjoy eating them if they don't taste like anything. It's a really weird combination of feelings I have with them, but like the reason I like chewing cornflakes is because I can just eat a ton of them at the same time. And that's exactly why I like Rice Krispies too, but I'll get to that when I get to that. So, the next one, and this is the exact same argument why I like cornflakes. Next one is Raisin Bran. Raisin Bran is a little bit different though, because the Raisin Bran flakes are they're bran flakes, they're not corn flakes. So, and I know it's like everyone's mind's gonna be blown, but it's not called Raisin Bran cereal. The cereal name is actually 2 Scoops Raisin Bran cereal. So that kind of like caught me off guard a bit. I mean, it used to be Raisin Bran, but I mean, I'm sure they do sell it like marketed as Raisin Bran, but I know that in Canada it's marketed as 2 Scoops Raisin Bran. I think America still markets it as Raisin Bran cereal though, but because again, I just did a quick Google search on that, and all the Raisin Bran boxes on comingup.com and all the 2 Scoops are comingup.ca. So I think it's just a Kellogg's rebranding. of products between Canada and America. Because if you guys if you guys go to any sort of a Canadian store or something like that, you'll see an image like this. These are Canadian boxes. And for you guys who are watching on YouTube, just search 2 Scoop cereal, and you'll see the box that I'm talking about. So that's just something that like blew my mind because I'm pretty sure we used to have Raisin Bran, but again, it's just North American marketing. Same thing happens to a ton of different products, including I mean, obviously the big one is mac and cheese and KD. Or Kraft Dinner. So anyway, Raisin Bran. The bran flakes are made of bran, not corn. So the corn flakes, when they sog, they stay together because they're one big mass that just gets soggy. Bran flakes, however, are like a mix of a bunch of bran that's been flaked together. So when Raisin Bran gets soggy, it starts to separate. And this is one of those things that I really, really don't like in a cereal. Like, this doesn't happen in that many cereals because, I mean, it's a pretty similar, it's pretty standard to bran, I guess. Because it's just like gritty bran all holding itself together, then it gets soggy, it lets go. It kind of shards, and so when you're swallowing it, you'll get like bits of bran all up and down your throat, and you'll start choking on it and stuff. And that's one thing I don't like about eating Raisin Bran. Like, the thing I like about Raisin Bran over cornflakes, though, is when you take a bite of it, you get like, I mean, the bran flakes don't taste like anything because, as we talked about before with all the all bran flake cereal, bran just doesn't have a flavor. Like, bran tastes like cardboard. But with Raisin Bran, you get those bites of raisin in there too. And the sweetness of the raisin with the bran actually makes it really decent. Oh, excuse me. So the only problem I have with Raisin Bran is the fact that when you pour milk in it, it literally falls apart. Like the flakes don't stay together; they just sog out. Whereas cornflakes, they stay together. So in terms of Raisin Bran versus cornflakes, which I know is like a debate that goes on every now and again because they're almost the same cereal, but not really because one's made of corn, one's made of bran, one's got raisins, one's not, one's plain, one's kind of sugary. Because I think the raisins are sugared. But either way, cornflakes always wins over Raisin Bran for me. But it's usually pretty close. Um, Next thing I want to talk about is Special K. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Special K myself. It was always in our house growing up because my mom had it all the time. But I've had a couple different kinds of it. The ones that we see everywhere around here, there's the Special K vanilla one, there's an almond one, there's the Special K red berries cereal, there's a vanilla almond one, there's a brand called Special K Nourish, which has like, I think it's just got like extra nuts and fruits in it and stuff like that. So I think there's one that has like raspberry and pecan or something like that, or something that has almond. And then there's like Special K Crunch and stuff like that. And all in all, I'm just not a huge fan of Special K. Like, and then there's ones that have protein and stuff like that as well. I know that. I'm just kind of going through a list of everything I can picture in my head. But then there's berry ones and stuff like that. There's Special K of all sorts and all flavors. Like, there's some with nuts, some with berries, some with fruit of other kinds. I'm sure there's a lot of different kinds of Special K granola as well, but I kind of don't want to include granola cereals in it because that's a whole nother ballgame. But because I mean, I don't know, I eat granola with with a yogurt instead of milk, but that's just me. Yeah. I mean, Special K is definitely one of those cereals that's like it's definitely targeted at women for like being a lighter cereal. And I mean, I don't really think there's anything that healthy about Special K. Um, it does have, I mean, I think it's supposed to be more of a whole grain cereal. And I mean, a lot of them market like here's some with lots of protein and it doesn't have many calories in it, but I'm sure it's very slim compared to the rest of the cereals out there. I've never actually looked at a nutritional info section box on Special K, but I mean Special K is like it's one of those cereals I see around literally everywhere. Special K is one of the most popular cereals I think around in terms of adult cereal. But at the same time, like I don't really think it's that special, but that's just my opinion on it. Um, Again, if I was gonna have something like Special K, I would probably just have cornflakes and then like throw some blueberries in my bowl or something like that. I'm not a huge fan of mixing fruit with cereal, but when I was a kid, I used to like slicing strawberries into my Cheerios or having, a parent slice strawberries into Cheerios or bananas with something else. Satisfactory K is a very accurate representation of how I feel about the cereal, but I mean, I'll just leave it at that. I haven't had all the different kinds of Special K to be able to talk about them all. Like I know what they taste like and I know if they're good, but I have had the red berry one and the vanilla one a little bit, and again, they're just not that special. I'd rather just have something else. Um, the last cereal that I would consider on the fully side of the adult fringe cereal is Oatmeal Crisp. Um, Oatmeal Crisp cereal is probably my go-to if I was going to pick a cereal with nuts in it. Because Oatmeal Crisp cereal is like, they're these crunchy flakes, and it depends on what kind you buy. Um, the kind I usually end up getting when I get Oatmeal Crisp is just the almond flavor because it's okay. I'm not a huge fan of dried berries in cereal. So, I mean, there's a triple berry one which has like blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, I think, and they're all dried. And then there's an almond flavor, and there's a maple nut flavor, and there's a coconut flavor as well. And I just like the almond one. Like the almond one is really good. It's a nice crunchy cereal. It doesn't go it doesn't go very soggy in milk just because it's got like some sweetness covering the flakes and stuff. And then it's got like little clusters of like bits and pieces in there too that just taste really good. Um, I'm sure there's other flavors too. These are the only ones that I could see around. And again, I'm just basing my list off of cereals that we carry locally. So I don't know if anyone knows of any other flavors of oatmeal crisp. I'm sure I saw some in my Twitter notifications for my Twitter notifications, but I mean, again, if we don't have it near me, we don't have it near me. So now we're getting onto my fully fringe cereal list, and these are the cereals which I fully consider to be completely in the middle of adult cereal and kid cereal. You could both argue either side of where they are. Oh, except for one, cranberry almond crunch. Cranberry almond crunch cereal. I've never actually eaten it, but I do have people that regularly buy it, and it's got like little flakes of I don't actually know what it is. it's some sort of grain, but it's more like clusters instead of flakes. So it's got like these little clusters, and then it's got some nuts and some cranberries in it, and it tastes pretty good because, I mean, I've had it once. Sorry, not totally, but I mean, I think I had it at like a friend's house, or it could have been another cereal, but I think I've had it. If I haven't had it, then it was another cereal that was very similar to it. But it's like clusters, and then it's got like some nuts in it. I think it's almonds, and then it's got like little cranberries in it, little dried cranberries. And I mean, it's like one of the only. I mean, there are a lot of cereal. I think there's Special K cereals that have cranberries in them too. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not a go-to cereal for me, just because again, I don't really like dried fruit in cereal. And clusters are clusters tend to get stuck in my teeth, just because usually they got little clumps of this and that. Okay, so mini wheats. Mini wheats to me are a snack food. Like, I very, very rarely eat mini wheats to eat them with milk. Like, generally, I just like having a bag of them around so I can like reach in, grab a couple, and just snack on them to have something crunchy. Um, Mini wheats has a bunch of different flavors. Uh, the ones I usually buy when I buy them are just the vanilla ones because they're just vanilla ones. Then there's some stuffed ones that have like some little fruit flavoring right in the middle of them. I think the ones we have are blueberry flavored, and then there's a raspberry flavored one. And then there's ones with different flavors of frosting. Like around here, you'll find the vanilla ones. There's brown sugar ones. You'll find maple flavored ones, which I don't like because I don't like maple flavor. And then there's pumpkin spice ones, which I bought today, but those are very seasonal. And I won't be opening for a while because I bought some Nutter Butter cereal too. And again, I want to eat those first. So, mini wheats, in my opinion, are one of like I get that all the time. Canadian that doesn't like maple. What are you talking about? I don't like the flavor of maple. I like it when it's light. Like I'll like some syrups, but I don't like pure maple sugar or maple syrup. That's the thing. Or like maple flavoring, like in cookies and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan. So mini wheats to me are like a more top tier cereal, but at the same time, it's just shredded wheat. Like, there's nothing really special about mini wheats other than the fact that they're marketed as being sweet. So, I think you can also buy unfrosted mini wheats, but that's makes as much sense to me as buying an unfrosted Pop Tart. Like, I'm sure there's people out there who do eat unfrosted Pop Tarts, but those people are just wrong, and that's just how I feel about that. um, Chex cereal is the next one on my list, and there's a bunch of different ones. I feel like Chex has changed over the years, because back in the 90s, I remember them being a little bigger, but then they got really small and kind of harder. Um, there's a couple different kinds of Chex. There's just the regular rice Chex, which I think are gluten free. I think all Chex cereal is gluten free actually, and so very passionate about Pop Tarts if I ever do a Pop Tart segment. We don't have that many flavors of Pop Tarts in Canada or out here as far as I know. Every time I go to the States, I'm always like really surprised. So who knows, maybe Pop Tarts will come one day. Last time I went to SGDQ, I bought some s'more Pop Tarts, and those were interesting. Anyway, Chex cereal is like something nice and small, and I like Chex because they don't go very soggy in milk either. It's like they're just perfectly covered and they're perfectly sized to be able to like hold a crunchiness. So you have your regular rice Chex. The kind I prefer is Honey Nut Chex. Honey Nut Chex. Then there's chocolate checks, which there's like regular checks in there, and then there's chocolate checks, but that's that's the thing. Those are the only ones I've ever seen around here. Hey Steve, how are you doing? What are your favorite cereals? Let me know. Um, I really like Honey Nut Chex. They do have a whole grain one, and there's also a corn check cereal. I've never seen them around in stores, but I know that they do exist because I'm Googling them right now. Um, Cinnamon Chex is also a thing too, but I mean all of them are pretty much the same cereal. Like they're like Shreddies except like thicker and smaller, and they're I don't know, they're just really good. I haven't had Chex in a really long time, but I used to eat them all the time. Um, the next one here, and this is what most people put down as their favorite adult cereal, was Honey Nut Cheerios. Now, Honey Nut Cheerios and regular Cheerios, I separated into two different categories because, I mean, Honey Nut Cheerios is one of those cereals that's just like, I don't know, I feel like Honey Nut Cheerios is like a cereal titan. Like it can hold its own against a lot because it's really popular. Like Honey Nut Cheerios is just like, I don't know, it's really hard to describe. It's just like you got the O of a Cheerio and it's good, but then it's covered in like just the perfect amount of like honey and sugar. Well, it's not really sugar, it's just like honey coated. But that it doesn't it doesn't sog in milk that much unless it's in there for a long time. But I mean, they're the perfect level of sweetness as well. So like when you take a bite of a Honey Nut Cheerio, you're not like dying to get some water to like level out your blood pressure or blood sugar, I mean. Oats for breakfast. Yeah. I talked about that at the beginning a little bit. But yeah. That's all I really can say about Honey Nut Cheerios. Like it's definitely up there for a good reason. Um, Regular Cheerios is one of my favorite. I go through periods where I like would I'd rather buy Honey Nut or rather buy regular. But if I was to put the cereals on a tier list, I would definitely put regular Cheerios above Honey Nut Cheerios. Just because for the same reason I like Corn Flakes. I like the way that Honey Nut Cheerios sog in or regular Cheerios sog in milk a little bit, as well as the plain taste of the wheat that's used for regular Cheerios or whatever whatever it is that is. I don't know. It's just it has a really nice plain flavor that I really enjoy. So I Honey Nut Cheerios are trying too hard. I don't think so. I think Honey Nut Cheerios are like right there at the very top. Um, there's a lot of other kinds of different Cheerios as well. Multigrain Cheerios, which are just whole grain Cheerios. Um, Apple Cinnamon Cheerios, uh, which are different than Apple Jacks, as far as I know. We used to have Apple Jacks here in Canada, but I haven't seen them in a very long time. Instead, we just started getting Apple Cinnamon Cheerios. And again, I'm not sure if they're the same thing or if they're a different product, but it's all we have. So, um, that's pretty much it for cereal or for Cheerios. There's a lot of like other kinds of Cheerios that like there's a lot of other kinds of Cheerios that are kind of seasonal. Like there's some that are fruity. Oh, you have both there? Okay, I guess they're different. I don't know what company makes Apple Jacks. Like, let me quickly look it up. Apple Jacks is made by Kellogg's, and I know Cheerios is made by General Mills. So I guess it's obviously a different product. I've seen Apple Jacks around. Like, I know that they still exist, but I'm not seeing any .cas. So, I mean, Apple Jacks are more supposed to taste like cinnamon than they are like apples, but I mean, they're still pretty good. I would rather just have Honey Nut Cheerios than Apple Jacks, but that's just me. Then, of course, there's other Cheerios that have like fruit on them and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's lots of knockoff brands. Right now, we have a new one on our shelves. They're like peanut butter chocolate Cheerios. And I mean, we've had chocolate Cheerios before, and then there's like Cheerio Oat Crunch and stuff like that. And Very Berry Cheerios are right now. So I mean, like Honey Nut Cheerios are a different texture than regular Cheerios too, but it's just because they're covered with like the hardened sugar or whatever. And I mean, I guess apple cinnamon Cheerios don't really have that. It's more of like a Fruit Loop, but yeah, I don't know. Um, Peanut butter Cheerios, chocolate peanut butter Cheerios, and chocolate Cheerios. I can't recommend any of them, to be honest. I've had pumpkin spice Cheerios as well this past Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving last year. Sorry. Um, Canadian Thanksgiving is at the beginning of October, so we've already had it. Actually, it was like, yeah, it was right on the first weekend of October, the uh, the 6th, 7th, I think. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Cheerios. Definitely up there. Definitely a good cereal. Um, the next one, and I should have put this with the adult cereal because it kind of is an adult cereal, is Rice Puffs. Rice Puffs cereal is barely a cereal. Like, I really, really don't consider Rice Puffs an actual cereal, but it is an actual cereal. Like, I used to eat them when I was a kid because it was you could eat like a billion of them and you never got full because it's literally just puffed rice. Like super heated puffed rice. It was soft and it like squished under your teeth because it was just soft, right? And like well, I guess superheated rice is Rice Krispies. I don't know what they do to make rice puffs, but like Rice Puffs is a cereal that I feel like you would put in other cereal to not use up the cereal fast enough. Like Rice Puffs doesn't have a flavor. It's just like you're eating rice, the inside of rice. So it's like nice and fluffy and puffy, but at the same time you would just mix it in with another cereal so that you were just like eating that. Like you mix it in some Cheerios or you mix it in some Rice Krispies or something like that, and then all of a sudden, there you go. It's like, I mean, there's your cereal. So, Rice Puffs definitely down there. Rice Krispies is the next cereal. Rice Krispies is one of those cereals that I feel is majorly leaning towards kid side, but I feel like it's also a fringe cereal because it's used in so many different things. Like, of course, my favorite Rice Krispies are just the regular ones, and the the different varieties of original Rice Krispies that pop up through the year. Like, it's almost November, so on the shelf, you'll start seeing the green and the red Rice Krispies, and those are ones that they have regular ones in there too. But then some of them are also red, and some of them are also green, and it's like the Christmassy Rice Krispie things just to get you in the mood for the holiday, right? So Rice Krispies, and then there's brown Rice Krispies, which I think are just healthy, and then there's gluten-free Rice Krispies, which are I mean, they taste almost exactly the same to me. And then there's the vanilla Rice Krispies, which are just they're Rice Krispies except they're really sweet with the vanilla flavoring. And I really like all of them, to be fair, but I really like the regular Rice Krispies for the same reason I said earlier that I like Corn Flakes, because Rice Krispies they're just superheated rice that's just like popped. And when you pour them in milk, they go soggy instantly. So, but they absorb a lot of milk too. So when you take a spoonful of them, you can shove like a ton in your mouth, and you don't even need to chew it. You can just instantly swallow it. But just the taste of it is just really, really satisfying. And so Rice Krispies is one of those cereals that I could just sit there and just like eat an entire box of if I have the milk for it. But like it just gets everywhere if you don't eat it with milk, because obviously it's a really light, so like if a light breeze comes along, it'll just blow away kind of thing. So that's pretty much it for that. A couple more cereals left until I get to the full kids cereal. First one is Life cereal. Now, when I was a teenager, I always thought Life cereal was like an adult cereal. Like I thought it was a fully adult cereal. But then I tried it once, and I was surprised to see that it was sugary. Like, I thought Life didn't have anything on it at all. But then it turned out like, oh, it's actually a sugary cereal. Like, Life is very sweet. And it's not apparently sweet when you eat it, because it's kind of like an after flavor that comes from like its like wheat prison or whatever it is. Again, I don't know what Life cereal is made out of, but it's some sort of grain. Let me quickly Google this. Life cereal. Multi-grain cereal. So yeah, it is just grain cereal. We only have the, like, for the Life cereal, there's like the multi-grain one, and then the original one, and then we also have a cinnamon one. And I really, really like the cinnamon Life cereal. The regular one is fine too, but it's one of those cereals that like also, it kind of like Raisin Bran, because it's like multigrain, I guess. When you throw milk in it, it instantly decides to evaporate or does like break apart. And so if you don't like scoop it together, Life is a wheat prison. If you don't scoop it together, it starts to fall apart, and then you get like little tiny bits in your milk that, like, when you try and eat them up, they sink and you get them clogged in your throat and stuff like that. So, Life cereal is definitely one of the better tasting cereals in my opinion, but again, if you're having it with milk, you just got to be careful about how fast you eat it, because it ultra sogs. In the same bin as Life cereal, I want to throw in Crispix. Crispix is like Life, except instead of being in square form, it's like in a hexagon almost. Except not really. It's like, it's almost a square, except it has two rounded edges. And Crispix is like, I don't even know like what Crispix is made up of. Like, I'm pretty sure it's half and half. Like, Crispix is like one side rice and one side corn. Let me look it up. Oh yeah, even on Google here, it shows it right on the box: crispy rice side on one side, crunchy corn on the other. So I mean, it's not flavored with anything. It's just like as it is. But it's one of those cereals that's like, it's really good. Like around this time of year, Nuts and Bolts is something that gets made a lot, and my mom's made it every year. And it's always got the same stuff in it. Everyone has their own kind of recipe for it. But Crispix is one of those things that's really good in it, I feel, because it's not flavored. So, I don't know. Crispix it's really good, but I don't know. Just the dual-sidedness of it. One side is like really solid and the other one kind of sogs a little bit. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about eating Crispix. Like, it's been a long time since I've had it, like, as a cereal. But, yeah, I don't mean that kind of nuts and bolts dingo. But, but yeah, like, I don't know. Crispix is, it's a very plain cereal. Like, I almost consider Crispix a fully adult cereal, but it's, I don't know. I feel like it's more on the kid side, even though it doesn't have any kind of sugar in it. So, alright, the last fringe cereal I have is Shreddies. Now, Shreddies are exactly like Raisin Bran in the fact that when you pour milk into them, they immediately break apart. Shreddies absorb liquid like they're the Sahara Desert, like trying to balance out like the sand. That's a bad example, but I mean like if you pour milk into Shreddies, it will all absorb into your cereal unless you pour in way too much. And by that point, like by the time you pour your milk into the cereal, put your jug down, pick up your spoon, your cereal will be a giant mass of just Shreddies. Like it's one of those cereals that it definitely like absorbs your milk really fast, and because of that, it just immediately sogs, and when you dig your spoon in, it doesn't keep its shape. It immediately like when you put your spoon into most cereal bowls, it'll like brush the cereal out of the way, and then it'll brush the cereal out of the way, and then you can just eat it. Like you can just eat the cereal, and it's just the way it is. But with Shreddies, when you dig your spoon in, the spoon just goes down. It's like you're cutting through a solid mass. And I mean, it only takes like 10 seconds for this to come into effect. Like, I really enjoy Shreddies, and I mean, if you sprinkle some sugar over Shreddies, you got a nice, delicious cereal. But that's just one of the downsides to it, and that's why I would always put it down on a list. There's several different kinds of Shreddies. There's a honey Shreddies, which I would 100% recommend if you're going to buy Shreddies, just because Honey Shreddies doesn't go soggy as fast because it's got that honey coating on it. But there's one other kind of Shreddies that has been around for a while now, and that is banana bread flavored Shreddies. And I tried these once at I don't remember if it was the beginning or the end of last year. I don't remember when we've had them, but I remember seeing it on the shelf and thought, oh man, I love banana flavored stuff. Banana bread flavored Shreddies. It's probably just Shreddies with like some sort of honey flavoring and then, a hint of banana. But these Shreddies were probably the worst tasting cereal I've ever had. Like, it wasn't a very light flavor. It was a very strong flavor of banana, and it was like very, very artificially flavored. Like I don't know if you've ever had like banana flavored stuff and go, "Oh yeah, it tastes like banana. That's good." This was like that, except it was really, really syrupy tasting. Like really strongly syrupy tasting like bananas. And holy moly, I finished the box because I don't like wasting food. But it was I had to do it all at once. I was like, I need to like pour the rest of this into a gigantic bowl and just eat it all at the same time. And then if it just sogs on me, I'll just throw out the rest. Like if it sogs too much, I mean. Like I just couldn't eat it. So if you've ever seen them in stores, I don't recommend buying them. You can obviously try them if you want to, but again, not worth for me. Um, Looking on Google here, I saw something that was mentioned earlier, and that's Cocoa Shreddies. I imagine it's just chocolate flavored Shreddies. I've never seen these before, but I mean, if they're just chocolate flavored Shreddies, I imagine they would taste really good. So I will just leave that at that. Okay, so I lied. last cereal that I would consider fringe cereal is Honey Bunches of Oats. Um, Honey Bunches of Oats is I saw a lot on my Twitter poll. Like, um, I didn't expect so many people to say Honey Bunches of Oats for their favorite adult cereals, but they definitely threw me off guard with that one. There's lots of different flavors of Honey Bunches of Oats. I believe the ones I took pictures of, there's an apple one, there's an almond one, there's a honey one, I think there's a pecan one, and those are the only ones I saw, but I think other people might have said some stuff. Might have said some stuff on my Twitter poll. The reason I like Honey Bunches of Oats is because, I mean, they're honey coated. And whenever you get bunches instead of flakes or something like that, it's usually really, really good cereal to have in milk. Because anything that has nuts in it, you'll have like these honey coated bunches or chunks. And they're crunchy, they're delicious, they're good. I don't buy a whole lot of Honey Bunches of Oats just because I'm not a big fan of cereal with nuts in them or fruit or anything in them, and the bunches get stuck in my teeth as well. But it's definitely a nice breakfast cereal. I'm not a huge fan of sugar coated or honey coated cereals. That's obviously one of my favorite adult cereals I picked were regular Cheerios and Rice Krispies, but when it comes down to certain cereals, I would never turn. If someone said, "What do you have in your kitchen?" and there was like Honey Bunches of Oats, I would probably take that every now and again, just because it's a craving. Every now and again, you get a craving for something, and then you just gotta go for it. Okay, so now we're going into kid cereals, and kid cereals, everyone's had lots of different kinds of kid cereals, except for German Guitar Dude, who just eats oats. So, when it comes down to kid cereal, there's two different kinds of kid cereal. There's sugar-coated kid cereal, and there's sugar-infused kid cereal. And the sugar-coated ones I'm talking about are the ones that have like sugar on top of it, and the sugar-infused ones obviously are the ones that have sugar built into it. So I haven't had, and I mean I would consider honey-coated to be sugar on top or sugar-coated. So I'll probably talk about those like that. So first cereal on my list, and I actually have never had this cereal before, is Sugar Crisp. Sugar Crisp is it's like a rice puff, except sugar coated. So you're getting that nice fluffiness of a rice puff, but it's sugar coated. So it's kind of crispier, I guess. And again, I'm just looking at the box, at what it's like. I've actually never had Sugar Crisp, and if I did, it was when I was young, and I just don't remember it. I don't know if Sugar Crisp is any different than Golden Crisp. I think both of them were made by Post. I looking at pictures online, I've never seen Honey Smacks before, but Sugar Crisp looks very similar to Honey Smacks. Like they both like look like exactly the same cereal. So I'm not entirely sure about if they are, but I mean just from the look, and so that's pretty much all I had to say about Sugar Crisp cereal. So the next one is Golden Grams. Now, Golden Grams is another cereal it's like Shreddies, except it's heavily coated in sugar. And I actually really like Golden Grams. Golden Grams is like, it's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, except instead of covered in cinnamon sugar, it's just covered in honey. And I mean, I don't dislike that. I haven't bought Golden Grams in a long time because when it comes to kid cereal for me, like I always buy the same thing over and over. Like I very rarely leave the herd for what I usually buy. So Golden Grams, I don't have much to say about it other than that, and a lot of these I probably wouldn't have a lot to say other than just like this is what it is. Um, the next cereal is Cookie Crisp. Um, Cookie Crisp I've never had either, but Secret Humor Man told me that it's his favorite cereal. I remember someone in here said Cookie Crisp as well. Was that Earfolds? I think. I'm trying to scroll up, but I can't see it. Yeah, it was you. That's right. Yeah, I've never had Cookie Crisp, but it looks it looks pretty good. Like, I mean, I don't know if the little orbs cracked open that giant bag you have earlier. Like, I don't know if Cookie Crisp is Cookie Crisp like a crunchy cereal or is it like kind of like a chewier cereal? Because the way the pictures of Cookie Crisp look, it could either be a crunchy with like chocolate chips. It's crunchy and dense. Oh, okay, so it's kind of like cookies. It looked like it could be like a little chewy of a cereal. Now, I've seen Cookie Crisp a billion times because they sell it at my store, but I've just never bought it. So maybe I'll go out and try it one time because it doesn't look that bad. And there's a lot of people who have pictures of Cookie Crisp cooked into pancakes as well. And that actually looks kind of good. But I don't know. I'll have to save judgment for if I ever go to try it. It doesn't get very soggy, but it gets wet. So they keep their crunchiness. It's good both dry and wet. That's the mark of a good cereal. If you put it in milk and it tastes good, and you don't, and it still tastes good. Okay, next cereal, and this is my least favorite cereal of all time. I've only ever had it once, but I did not appreciate my experience, and that is Crave cereal. Crave is like, it's like this crispy outer shell of I don't actually know what it is. I'm trying to look if it's corn or if it's bran. But it's like it's like a small pocket with chocolate on the inside. And there's some other ones that have like double chocolate, and there's s'mores ones I've seen around. But I know that Mumbo Token's favorite cereal is Crave, and I don't know, I just don't like Crave. Like, it's it's a little too much like of a bready cereal to eat, in my opinion. Like, I would I would rather eat shredded wheat than eat Crave. But that's just me. Like, I mean, the chocolate tastes really good, but the outer is just way too thick for me. Like, but I mean, if it wasn't thick, it would just sog. So, hey Blastoise. So I don't know. That's just why I don't like Crave. Um, I never the only time I had it, I didn't have it with milk. It was dry, but I still didn't like the taste of it. So I was just like, yeah, I'm just not gonna have this. um, Next cereal on my list is Honey Made S'mores cereal. And Honey Made S'mores is like it's like a combination of like Crispix and chocolate almost. Like it's not really Crispix, it's more like Golden Grams, but it's also got like little chunks of like chocolatey cereal and like marshmallow in it. And I I actually have never had it. Like it looks really good, but I only ever saw it for the first time today when I was out looking at breakfast cereals. But it definitely looks sweet. Like if you Google it, I like the flakes look sugary enough, but then I don't know if the little balls of chocolate are like actually uh, chocolate flavored of the same thing the flakes are made out of, or if the marshmallows are actually fully marshmallow. But either way, it looks very sweet and it looks very delicious, and my mouth is actually watering looking at pictures of these, so I need to move on to the next one. So, next one is Oreo O's. And I mean, Oreo O's are exactly like what they sound like. Oreo O's are almost like Cheerios. I mean, they are. They're just like they're Cheerios, except they're like fully made of chocolate instead of like, the wheat that Cheerios are made out of. I mean, they're closer to like a Fruit Loop. They're like a chocolate Fruit Loop, except instead of fruit, it's just chocolate. And then they're covered in like this vanilla this vanilla pieces all over. Um, I used to eat Oreo O's a lot when I was a kid, like, but I haven't had it so much because I'm not a huge fan of like pure chocolate cereals. Usually they lead to just disappointment to me when I eat them, so I try and stay away from them. But Oreo O's are kind of like frosted Cheerios, like frosted except without the frosting, I guess. Frosted Cheerios were like a big thing like back in the 90s, I remember, and then they kind of went away around here. And then Frosted Cheerios came back right when Frozen came out because it was like, oh, the Cheerios are like coated in, the frozen ice kind of thing. So Frosted Cheerios were brought back and like rebranded to be like, frozen Cheerios. So Oreo O's are kind of like that, except a little different, but just a little bit. I wouldn't put Oreos very high up on my tier list, but I know a lot of people that like them. I heard a couple people say Oreos on my Twitter response. Um, Next one up is I wasn't gonna include, and I'm gonna delete it off my list after I mention it. But there was a fun pack cereal that comes out, and there's like a variety pack cereal. The variety pack cereal I think has Raisin Bran. I don't actually remember what it has. Let me quickly look. They're like these they're like these small camping cereals. And yeah, one of them comes with, oh, these are different kinds. America has different ones, I think. I've never seen one with mini wheats. The kids one has Frosted Flakes, Corn Pops, Fruit Loops, and Rice Krispies. And then the adult variety pack has Raisin Bran, Corn Flakes, actually can't find one. Raisin Bran, Frosted Flakes. Actually can't find the other one. I should have wrote it down when I was in the store. Either way, They're just like these mini packs of cereal that you can like open up and then you pour milk like directly in the bag and eat them. They're like single serving cereal boxes and they're great for camping, and that's what we had them for, so that's just why I thought I'd mention it. Um, Next one is Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms is one of those cereals that keeps changing in my mind over the years. When I was a kid, I loved every cereal. I didn't care. Just put it in my face. Give me the cereal and put it directly in my face. But Lucky Charms is one of those cereals that I stopped liking as the years went on because my teeth slowly got really sensitive to granulated sugar. And when I bite into the marshmallows, it kind of gives me a little bit of a shock. And so I can't really eat Lucky Charms without feeling that. And so that's just why I stopped liking them. The other reason I don't really like Lucky Charms anymore is because the Lucky Charms cereal, like the whole grain cereal, is really plain, and I really don't like I just really don't like that kind of cereal. Like the other cereal that I'll mention now that's a little up on my list, and I'll actually combine this together, is Alphabet's cereal. And Alphabet cereal is like the same thing. Like it's just like the plain whole grain cereal that's just got nothing else to it. Like it's barely good. It's like covered in some sort of whatever honey coating a little bit, but I don't know, it's just not great to me. So, I'd never seen chocolate Lucky Charms until I went out today. But chocolate Lucky Charms are sound pretty good, to be honest. Another thing that I don't think we ever had in Canada, we might have, but I never saw them, are the all marshmallow Lucky Charms boxes. I'm pretty sure they existed at one point, but that's just too much sugar overload for me. Like, just can't do that much. Can't do that much sugar. I mean, the marshmallows taste really good, but it's like, eh. And then, every now and again, I remember when they first. I remember seeing commercials on TV when they first came out with the clover marshmallow for Lucky Charms. And that was really exciting stuff because, up until then it was like, they had the shooting star and the rainbow, and then they had the moon, and they had I don't know, the balloon, I think it is. And then there was the heart, and then the little hourglass, or the pot of gold, I mean. And the horseshoe, and then everyone made a big deal about the clover. The lucky hat with the clover on it. And, like, those were good times. It's nothing to do with the cereal. It's just something that I remember seeing a lot. But yeah, chocolate Lucky Charms, okay. And this is something that I never ever saw until I went to the States last. And I remember pointing this out because I made a big deal out of it at the time to Ricky Nanyan, was Lucky Charms Frosted Flakes. It's like Frosted Flakes cereal, but then it had like the Lucky Charms marshmallows in it. And I was like, wow, you don't get more America than that. I remember thinking, like, I don't know, I just never heard of it before. It was a cereal I was unfamiliar with. So, it was really interesting seeing that. I mean, they probably taste really good, but they probably also taste really sweet, so yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's how I feel about Lucky Charms. Next up is, I put Golden Grams on here twice. Nutter Butter cereal. Now, I've never seen a Nutter Butter bar, because I'm pretty sure they don't have them in Canada. As far as I know, I've never seen a Nutter Butter. I think they're more like cookies, aren't they? Like Nutter Butters are cookies. But I had never seen them until I went to the States one time, and I bought a box to bring back up home, and they were really good. And I remember when I was out earlier this afternoon, I was in Walmart and I saw a Nutter Butter cereal, and I thought, I really like peanut butter, and I really enjoyed those Nutter Butters that I had that I brought back from the States, so maybe I'll try them out. So I got home and I opened up the box, and I accidentally left my milk out last night when I had cereal, so I was like, whatever. So I just took a handful of Nutter Butters of the cereal, big. Like, these are big flakes for cereal. Like, they're not flakes, they're like these little, I don't know, I think they're corn, but they're heavily sugared. And I didn't expect that because normally most peanut butter cereals have like, just like nothing on them and then it's peanut butter flavor cooked into the cereal. But the sugar on the outside of these Nutter Butter bars tastes really, really heavily like peanut butter. I was really shocked at them. Uh, in my opinion, it's like and I mean they're like peanut shaped. I didn't know that at first, but then when I looked at the box and I was like, oh, they're peanut shaped. Like Nutter Butter cereal is really, really good if you like peanut butter. Like if you're allergic, stay away because you will die. I haven't had a chance to try them with milk because obviously I don't have any milk right now, and I didn't think of it while out, but definitely recommend Nutter Butter cereal. It's like it's just blowing my mind because it's brand new for me. So it's just one of those things that's like, oh my God, it's right in the front of my brain. So, kind of on the same topic of the Nutter Butter, and this kind of just comes to me because of when I took them out of the box and felt them, I was like, this feels a lot like honeycombs. Except that honeycombs don't have any sugar on top of them. They're just like honey coated. Um, Honeycomb cereal is another one of those cereals that I only ever like eating without milk. Like, honeycombs taste really good with milk, but I find that they're a lot more fun to chew without. Like, I know this is weird, but when I was talking about the Rice Puffs earlier, honeycomb cereal is like, I don't know, it's very spongy. Like, when you bite it down, like, on its, like, long side, you'll just crunch right through it because it's like, I mean, it's kind of crunchy, but kind of not really. But if you bite down on its long, like on its like thin side, like on its side, you can kind of like compress it in your teeth a little bit, and like I don't know, it's just really something I really like. And when you eat it with milk, like honeycomb cereal doesn't really go soggy because it's really thick. Like it's a really thick cereal. And because of the way it's coated, I mean, most cereals don't go soggy that fast, but they will. But I mean, like the inside doesn't get super soggy really fast. So, um, so I don't know. Honeycomb cereal is another one of those cereals, kind of like mini wheats, that I would rather just snack on without actually putting any milk in there. Ugh, we're almost coming to the end of the list here. We're getting close. Um, so another cereal that I actually have never eaten is Cocoa Puffs. Um, I've never had Cocoa Puffs. Like I didn't even know we still had them in stores around here. But I went to Walmart and I saw that we had Cocoa Puffs. Like Cocoa Puffs are Okay, around here, and I'm gonna bunch these together because they look exactly like the same cereal. I've never had Cocoa Puffs, but I have Nesquik cereal, and I don't know if you guys have Nesquik cereal in the States, but I assume that Cocoa Puffs and Nesquik are exactly the same kind of cereal. Nesquik is in the UK. It might be a Canadian cereal then. Nesquik cereal. Let's have a look. Yeah, Nesquik's everywhere. I see .ca, .com, .au, .com. Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, Nesquik and Cocoa Puffs are exactly the same. They're both balls. They both taste like chocolate. They both turn your milk chocolatey, right? I mean, I really like Nesquik cereal because it's in my opinion, it's a cereal that tastes really deeply of chocolate. And like that's just why I like eating it. Um, they're basically Cocoa Puffs, Cocoa Krispies. Okay, I've never had either of those either. Um, I assume Cocoa Krispies are just like chocolate Rice Krispies. Oh, they're like mini Nesquik? Oh, so they're like little tiny balls then. Okay. Yeah. Cocoa Krispies is something that I hear a lot of people talking about from the States, but I've just never seen it. I guess I'm literally on the internet right now, so I can kind of look at it. Oh, Cocoa Krispies are literally chocolate Rice Krispies. Oh, okay, yeah, of course. I've never seen Cocoa Krispies though. And Cocoa Pops. Cocoa Pops looks like it looks more like Rice Krispies than it does Cocoa Puffs, but you eat them consistently? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that's like you just don't see them around up here. I don't check all the stores. Like there's a couple places that might carry them, but I didn't bother looking around. I just check like the main chains, not the ones that would like special order. Anyway, the reason I like Nesquik better than Oreo O's or something like that is because Nesquik has like a really deep dark chocolatey taste and it's a solid ball of it. Whereas Oreo O's I don't feel is as chocolatey and it's also got that vanilla flavor on top of it as well. That kind of takes away from it for me. Um, I think it's a different kind of chocolate because I think they actually use cocoa powder in Cocoa Pop in Nesquik. I mean, I don't actually know the ingredients list. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's cocoa powder in there. Let's see, Oreos ingredients. I mean, I would be shocked if Oreos didn't have cocoa powder in it too. Oh, Oreo O's uses just cocoa, like straight cocoa, processed with alkali. So, yeah. I mean, it literally does your fold. Nesquik does look uncannily like rabbit droppings. I mean, that's just how it is. They're just balls. They're just balls of chocolate. But, I mean, that's just how it is, right? So, very, very nice chocolatey tasting balls. While we're on the topic of balls, I'll cover the other ball cereals. Corn Pops. Corn Pops are just plain Nesquik cereal, like just balls of corn with honey on top of them. Um, Corn Pops are one of those cereals that I liked the commercials for on TV. I thought Corn Pops also had really good commercials. I like Corn Pops in milk because they don't go soggy very often. But then um, also with Corn Pops, like their Corn Pops are just a great cereal to eat without milk too. They're just like a nice like just snack. But like Captain Crunch, um, which I'll talk about once we're done the balls. They kind of hurt the inside of your mouth if you chew a bunch of them. So it's like if you put like an entire mouthful of, Cocoa Pops in your mouth, you're gonna probably get cut up a little bit because the balls of Cocoa Pops or Corn Pops, sorry, are really rigid. So that's just one reason why I don't buy Corn Pops anymore. It's just because they're a little too taxing to eat for me. The last ball-shaped cereal I'll talk about is Reese's Puffs cereal, and I saw this on my list on Twitter a lot. Um, Reese's Puffs cereal is they marketed it as it's candy for breakfast, and it literally is. Like Reese's Puffs cereal is like there's two kinds of balls. They're smaller than Corn Pops, but they're still like pretty much the same size. But some of them taste like peanut butter, some of them taste like chocolate, and it's just like I don't know, they're just really good. Like I'm not a huge fan of Reese's Puff cereal in terms of like if I was to compare peanut butter flavored cereals, I would put Nutter Butter cereal leagues above Reese's Puffs just because of the shapes of the things. But again, I've never had them in milk, so I don't know what they're like then either. So that's just that. Um, Reese's Puff cereal though is very similar to Nesquik. The chocolatey ones are less chocolatey, but I mean they're still like covered in peanut butter and chocolate flavor. Um, in I think Reese's Puff cereal is probably my favorite cereal of the kind, uh, just because of like overall how it is. Right now we have Reese's Puff Bat cereal because it's Halloween and it's one of those special things that come out like Frankenberry and Boo Berry and stuff like that. We don't have those cereals year round. I don't know if you guys do, but they always come around when it's Halloween. The Reese's Puff Peanut Butter Bats, Boo Berry, Frankenberry, and Count Chocula. I've never actually had Count Chocula. I was considering buying a box just to see what it was like, but I imagine Count Chocula is pretty much the same as like uh, Cocoa Pops or Cocoa Puffs and Nesquik. Just got a vampire on the box. You like all Count Chocula? Yeah. So I don't know. It's just one of those cereals that I just keep forgetting. Oh, you forget the all. You like Count Chocula. I'm sure I'll buy it one year, but I don't know. I would rather just have Reese's Puffs than or Reese's Pieces than Reese's cereal. When I googled Reese's Puff cereal, I came across this recipe though. It's like Rice Krispie squares, except it's Reese's Puff treats. It's got like Reese's Puff cereal, but then there's also Reese's Pieces baked in there, and then there's also there's some sort of sauce as well. I don't exactly know everything that's in here, but I'm definitely saving the YouTube video because it looks really delicious. Let's just not play the video on my podcast, and we'll be good. Okay, so we're almost down to the bottom. I only have 5 left on my list here. Thank goodness. One of them is Captain Crunch. I already talked about Captain Crunch a little bit. Captain Crunch is one of those cereals that has. It's a cereal that is like Corn Pops in that it'll hurt your mouth if you eat a lot of it. But the thing about Captain Crunch is that instead of round, the pieces are square. So it has really sharp edges on it. And I mean, Captain Crunch itself is just your pretty standard like corn cereal with honey on top of it. And it stays really crunchy in milk, but it's just the flavor is just really generic. Like, I don't know. I really dislike Captain Crunch. When I was a kid, I used to buy the Crunch Berries, Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, because the Crunch Berries had this nice fruity taste, and it was something that was just something really nice to go along with it. And then they came out with the Captain Crunch Oops All Crunch Berries cereal, and that was like, I never had any of that because by the time that came out, I just didn't care anymore. But I mean, like, that was like what Captain Crunch needed from like the very beginning, to be honest. Like, Oops All Crunch Berries was like, by the way, you know that favorite part about our cereal? Here, have an entire box of it. We don't care anymore. Just stop complaining about our cereal, kind of thing. So I don't know. I really enjoyed the Crunch Berries, but I'm really sad I didn't get any of the Oops All Berries. I almost feel like it was too much of a good thing though, because I mean, you know, when you really like something and you really like something and then you get like all of it at the same time, and then it kind of loses its specialness. Like it's not something to look forward to anymore. That's how I kind of feel about the Oops All Crunch Berries. But I mean, I never had it, so I don't really know if that's exactly what it was like. But yeah. So again, I'm not a big fan of it. So we're down to my last four, my favorite ones I've left for last. Um, well, not really all favorite, but some of them. Um, right here, next is Frosted Flakes. They're great. Frosted Flakes is literally just frosted cornflakes, and that makes them so much better. Like, the reason why I don't the reason why I don't buy Frosted Flakes anymore is because when you buy Frosted Flakes, you just eat the whole box. Like, Frosted Flakes is like, it's vanilla flavored cornflakes. You call them Frosties over there? I can Google that while I'm talking. But they're like vanilla flavored cornflakes. And they're just so good. Like, I don't know. Like, they sog just as fast as cornflakes, but oh, here we go. I see Frosties. Zucapitas. That's really weird. Tony the Tiger selling just Frosties. I don't know why they call them just Frosties instead of Frosted Flakes. Here's what Wikipedia says. Frosted Flakes, or Frosties, is a breakfast cereal produced by the Kellogg Company and consisting of sugar-coated cornflakes. It was introduced in the United States in 1952 as Sugar Frosted Flakes. The word sugar was dropped from the name in 1983. Anyway, I mean, there were a lot of really great. I mean, Tony the Tiger is like one of those cereal mascots that I think has stood the test of time. Like, I don't know if they even make commercials with the Honey Nut Cheerio bee anymore, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Frosted Flakes are just really delicious, and I mean, I think a lot of people think that too. I didn't get a lot of Frosted Flakes in my Twitter question I asked everyone, but according to Wikipedia, Frosted Flakes was the second best-selling cereal in the first half of 2017, only beat out by Honey Nut Cheerios, which is really interesting. I would definitely consider it a top three, but if only if I was like doing a top three of like kid cereal or sugar coated cereals, because I definitely think that there's a lot of cereals that could probably get beaten out by nowadays, in terms of like all cereal in general. But my tastes have changed over the years. But I remember in 2000, at the end of 2011, I bought a box of cornflakes and a jug of milk, and I ate the entire box of Frosted Flakes by myself in one sitting. And I think that was the last time I It wasn't the last time I bought a box of Frosted Flakes, but that was like it definitely like made me stop buying them for a long time. Just because, you eat too much of a good thing and it's just like, yeah. I mean, I did that with Cinnamon Toast Crunch as well, and I don't recommend doing that because that's really sugar. Like when your milk starts getting saturated with sludgy sugar at the bottom, you know you've eaten too much cereal. An entire box of Cookie Crisp with Jersey cream, 6% fat. Dude, that's a little too thick for me. Like that that see, I'm a 1% milk. I drink 1% milk. So like 6% just sounds terrible to me. Like I can barely stand homogenized milk. Like oh, that's gonna give me nightmares. So next up, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, in my opinion, used to be my favorite cereal until I ate a half a box in one sitting. And Cinnamon Toast Crunch is one of those cereals that's like, it's really, really, really sugary. Like, Cinnamon Toast Crunch has the same kind of flakes like a Golden Graham, whereas they're just the square, like, thin flakes. But then they're really heavily coated in like a cinnamon sugar coating. And they're, like I said, they used to be my favorite cereal. Like Cinnamon Toast Crunch is definitely one of like the titans for me. But at the same time, it's also really hard to eat a lot because if you don't use enough milk in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch and you like, spread it around in your bowl, um, it the milk gets really sludgy because the milk afterwards tastes really good because it's got so much sugar in it that it's just you're basically drinking milky syrup. And I mean, it tastes really good, but if you have too much of it, it's really not a good thing. So, Cinnamon Toast Crunch from now on, I would only ever do in like small bowls at a time. Like never anything too big. Otherwise, you just feel like you're just gonna pass out from some sort of sugar-induced coma or something like that. And the second last cereal, which is currently my favorite cereal of all time on this list and in general. Can anyone guess? Anyone guess something I haven't listed yet? Has anyone been paying attention? Because I might have mentioned it earlier. My favorite cereal of all time is French Toast Crunch. French Toast Crunch, to me, is like, in terms of sweet cereal, first off, it doesn't sog because it's very thick. And it's coated in just the right amount of like syrup that like it just stays crunchy. Even if you have put it in milk for a little bit, it's soft on the outside, but it's still crunchy. And I don't know what it is, like I really like the taste of French Toast Crunch because it's got the syrupiness inside and outside, but also it's not covered in sugar. So your milk is still sweet on the outside or when you're done, but then it's not too overpowering. And for me, that's just like the top of the food chain. Like the taste that I get from French Toast Crunch uh, definitely beats out a lot of the generic vanilla-y, sugary cereals. And I mean, there are a lot of other cereals that have like different tastes, and they deserve to be up there too. For example, like I said, the Nutter Butter was really good. Um, Reese's cereal is really good. Nesquik, all these other cereals that we've been talking about for the last 2 hours. But I don't know. For me, French Toast Crunch is definitely the top of the food chain in terms of cereals. Um, the last cereal I have on my list here that that I definitely think it's a close second. It definitely deserves to be up there. Is Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops is the last cereal I have on my list here. I just finished my box of French Toast Crunch last night, actually. But after I was done pouring the cereal, I went back to my computer here to eat it, and 4 hours later, I realized that I left my milk on the counter, and it was definitely room temperature. So that was not good to see. So, oops, no more milk. Luckily, I only had a little bit left, but um, yeah, it just left me with no milk to have cereal before I started my show today. But that's okay. I can always get milk another time. So anyway, Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops are a really nice fruity tasting cereal. Like I really enjoy like the taste that Fruit Loops has. They've had a lot of different Fruit Loops over the years. Right now, Fruit Loops look really different than they used to because I think a lot of the colors they used to use or they use aren't really there anymore. Like I think the Fruit Loops they have right now don't have any blue loops at all in them. Um, but I mean they've definitely like experimented with like tropical different kinds of Fruit Loops as well. And I think there's versions of Fruit Loop cereal that have marshmallows in them. We don't have any of those here right now, as far as I know. We just have like the plain old regular Fruit Loops. But definitely growing up, Fruit Loops is like it's in my top five cereal, 100%. Even now, like Fruit Loops just have a really good taste, and on top of that, they're also really colorful. Um, Fruit Loops are also really colorful, so I mean it's just something nice to look at. Um, Something that I still see every now and again, and I don't see this very often, are the Fruit Loop straws. I don't know if any of you guys remember those or see any of those, but the Fruit Loop straws are were a really interesting thing, and I didn't buy many of them because I don't drink a whole lot of milk. But what it was like yeah, the cereal straw thing. What it was is like it was like a straw made of Fruit Loop, but then the inside of it was like coated in like this vanilla-ness, just to coat the Fruit Loop so it didn't get soggy while you drink your milk. So you like put your straw in some milk, you drink the milk, and then you just eat your straw after you're done. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I don't remember many of the flavors of cereal straws because I only ever saw the regular ones, um, but yeah, I don't know. They were definitely definitely a good invention that came out. So that's pretty much it for like cereal. Um, if I had to pick a tier list for the cereal, let me just go through my list real quick here and take out all the ones that I don't really enjoy that much. It would be a very short list, just so I don't waste a whole lot of time in here. Um, I don't really know what to pick in terms of like top five or whatever, but right now my honorable mention I'm gonna throw in for my tier list is Nutter Butter cereal because I've only ever eaten it once, and it was before this show, but I haven't had a chance to eat a lot of it or explore it with milk, so I don't know if it tastes good with that or not. So, um, I don't know. Definitely, if I was to pick, definitely if I was to pick three for each tier. In my top tier, so my S tier of cereal, we would definitely have French Toast Crunch, Fruit Loops, and Honey Nut Cheerios. In my A tier, I would throw in regular Cheerios, Rice Krispies, and Life. B tier, Honeycomb cereal, Nesquik, and Frosted Flakes, or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I mean. C tier, I would throw in Frosted Flakes and Corn Flakes. And maybe Raisin Bran. Throw Raisin Bran in there too. So, if I had to pick the list, that would definitely be my top favorite cereals in order from top to bottom. So, I don't know what kind of lists you all have listening out there, but I mean, everyone's going to be different. And you can use cereals for all different kinds of things. Like, you use Rice Krispies to make Rice Krispie squares, or you can do the same thing with this cereal or that cereal, stuff like that. I mean, cereal is just, it's more than just eating with milk, but that's just how most people do it because it's what's cool, you know. So that's pretty much it for tier list. Before I move on to this last order of operations, which is just a silly little thing I decided to throw on the end, that's coming up. That's coming up in order of operations. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. There's a bunch of cereals that I wrote down that I couldn't find that I know existed that we don't carry around here. And I don't know if you guys have any cereals that you guys really like that I didn't mention today, because there's a lot of cereals out there that, I mean, just come and go. Like, there's one cereal that I remember eating when I was younger that tasted really fruity. And I don't remember what it was called, and I was trying to Google it at the beginning, but looking on Google, I think it was called Fruity Dino Bites. And I don't remember if that was the actual cereal or not. But I remember it was something fruity, and it wasn't Fruity Pebbles. I know that, because we don't, and it wasn't Trix either. We don't. I haven't seen Trix in a really long time, but Dino Bites are knockoff of Fruity Pebble. Okay, I remember they were kind of berry shaped as well. So, berry shaped fruity cereal. But yeah, I know it for sure it wasn't Trix. But I don't know what it could have been. It was like probably some knockoff toast or some knockoff cereal, but I can't remember what they would have been called. I'm back on Google looking at cereal. Strawberry honeycomb. I had that once. That was really good actually. Wasn't Captain Crunch berries? I just can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Trix, and I'm just mistaking myself. I also remember this one cereal from my childhood that it was like an Animal Crackers cereal, and like it had like animal shapes and stuff like that, but I can't remember what it was called. But I remember the cereal box had like a bunch of animals on it. Maybe it was a Teddy Graham cereal, because I see that, but I don't know if it was I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but anyway, it was just a cereal I remember from like 20 years ago. And of course I wrote on Honey Smacks. I've heard of that, but I'd never heard of it with like Smacks the Frog as the dude. And then talked about Apple Jacks and Frankenberry Count Chocula. So that was pretty much all I had for the other cereals. So order of operations. This is something I wanted to talk about that like is basically everything other than cereal. So I mean, obviously there's a little bit of discrepancy between what people think is right to do with cereal. And so this is the part where I talk about the order of what you do with your cereal and your milk. And I mean, obviously everyone who thinks that milk before cereal is a heathen, but there are times when I feel that it is acceptable to bridge the gap of sanity and throw your cereal in before your milk. Now, I know that some people like doing it one way and some people like doing it the other way, but what I talked about earlier in terms of cereal, what I talked about earlier in terms of cereal kind of rings true. So, for example, if your cereal is fine sitting in milk for a really long time without going soggy, then put your cereal in the bowl and then put in the milk and then eat it. That's pretty much how it goes. Like that. This is all my opinion. I'm not necessarily going to talk about what is supposed to be right, but this is just how I do it, right? So generally, I am always, always, always a cereal before milk kind of person. Cereal in the bowl, then put milk on top of it. However, I will say that there are some cases where it's acceptable to put the milk in before the cereal. Top three cereals I can give are, first off, Shreddies. If you put Shreddies in before your milk, they will become like a giant mass of Shreddy. Like for Shreddies, sometimes I like just having a bowl of milk and just putting in my Shreddies and eating them like as I go. Like pour in a few, eat, pour in another more, just so you're not eating like a bunch of scraps at the bottom. Second one I'm going to go over is Rice Puffs. Rice Puffs are the same thing because, like, I mean, they're just puffs of rice. Like, if you pour milk in them, the entire bowl is going to fall out because they'll just rise. They don't sink in milk. So, I mean, it's really hard to, get it all in there. The other one that I can think of off the top of my head, if I could possibly do it, which I can't, there's another one. You'd think it'd be Rice Krispies, but no, I like Rice Krispies in before milk. It's Oatmeal Crisp. Oatmeal Crisp I like putting in before them or after the milk because I like eating it when it's really crispy. I mean, Frosted Flakes I think hold their crisp a little bit, but I mean Frosted Flakes is the same kind of logic as Oatmeal Crisp. Like, if you want to eat a flaky cereal while it's still crispy, throw in a little bit into your milk at a time instead of an entire bowl before you go. Because Frosted Flakes are the same as Corn Flakes. They'll just mass together. The only difference with Corn Flake or Frosted Flakes is that they'll hold up a little bit longer because of their coating. But it won't be that much longer. Man, looking on Google, I just came across these mini buns cereal, cinnamon mini buns. I think I remember having that once before. They're probably really good. Short-lived 90s cereal. So there's that, and then. The last thing I wanted to talk about before I end the show was milk choice of liquid. So first off, Milk is definitely the way to go for cereal, in my opinion, just because it's creamy, it's milky, it's just what people do. It's what goes in cereal. Obviously, people have their preferences on terms of milk. I'm a 1% kind of person, and I don't eat a lot of cereal because I'm lactose intolerant, and so I usually have to buy lactose-free milk unless I want to have gaseous problems, but that's just for me. Um, Chocolate milk is okay in some cereals, but I find that is chocolate milk is really thick. Even if it's just 1% chocolate milk, it's still really thick, and I feel like chocolate milk drowns out the taste of whatever milk you eating. Like, milk has a very basic taste. Like, it's not very flavorful, it's just milk. Like, it's a little sweet, it's a little milky, that's all I can say. But if you're making it like a thick chocolate milk in your cereal is gonna taste like chocolate milk. So that's just the way that goes. I mean, obviously, some people like skim milk, some people like homo milk, some people like 6% like milk, which is almost cream. But I mean, you do you, right? Um, and as said just before, some cereals are okay with orange juice. Like, orange juice is very acidic, and so I don't feel like it goes very good with sugary cereals. Just because with sugary cereal, you have the taste of the cereal and it's all sugary and stuff. But then when you pour orange juice in it, you're kind of ruining like whatever taste it had, because orange juice just overpowers and it only tastes like orange juice. So, um, when I was younger, I used to have just regular Cheerios with orange juice sometimes, because I mean Cheerios are very plain. They're very basic. Like there's nothing in Cheerios that has a taste, right? So orange juice fits nice. Same with Rice Krispies and stuff like Vector cereal and Raisin Bran, in my opinion. So I mean, except for the raisins, like that would kind of ruin a little bit. But cornflakes kind of thing, like any flavorless cereal, I think is fine with orange juice. But orange juice is a little thin for me, so I prefer milk just because I like the creaminess of milk. But anyway, that's about it for that. I kept this last split just because I wanted to see how the episodes went from length, and this is definitely the longest podcast I've had to date. Like, I didn't think I could talk about cereal for almost 3 hours, but here we are. It's almost 8 p.m. So I haven't really thought about that too much. So next week on the GDO show, we're not going to be talking about breakfast anymore. This was the last episode of breakfast. I was gonna maybe talk about other things like a traditional breakfast, like toast and eggs and stuff like that, compared to like pancakes and bacon, compared to like maybe crepes and muffins. But I can't really talk about something like that for a long time because it's something that's very situational. Plus, it also depends on where you live in the world. For example, if you lived in Europe, your version of a traditional breakfast would probably be a lot different than someone who lived in North America or some other country of the world. So I decided to just leave that out because it's like I'm just not very informed on the topic itself. So I don't know what I'm going to be talking about next week on the GDO show. Next week I might be talking about Smash Bros. A little bit. There was a Smash Bros. Ultimate leak that happened earlier this week, and I was going to briefly mention it at the beginning of this week's show, but I decided I was going to have enough content to talk about, so I decided not to. Plus, I know some people are trying to avoid stuff like that, or some people just don't care. But I'm sure I'll come up with something to talk about for a little bit. There was a picture on Twitter that was going around not too long ago that had a bunch of numbers, and people on Twitter, post a number and I'll tell you something, all the way down to like best friend's name, to favorite animal, to insecurities, future plans, something I've been waiting for, last thing I ate, what I hate most about myself, your pet peeves, um, you know, biggest turnoffs, where I want to be right now, favorite ice cream flavor, all these dumb things here. So I was probably going to go through that and answer one of those one at a time. So I don't know if I'm going to do that next week or if I'm going to do that the week after, but it'll be coming soon. So that's pretty much it for that. And I know people are waiting for it to hit the 3-hour mark, so I'm going to wait till then before cutting the timer off because I don't know. Having a show go for 3 hours definitely wasn't on my menu, but that's just the way it went down. Okay, Okay, well, we stopped early. We stopped early. It was 2 hours and something, so GG. It was like I stopped at 2:59:59.83. That just feels bad. Anyway, we're done the GDO show for this week, so thank you all for tuning in. And I guess I'll see you guys next week if you decide to tune in. What I'll be talking about, I don't know. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, if you're watching this from Twitch and want to watch the episode again, or want something to go in the background, or know someone who wants to watch or listen to something in the background, I'll be uploading all these episodes to YouTube at youtube.com/garagedooropener. With a 0, so that's GARAGEDOOR, 0, PENER. Or if you're watching this from YouTube and you want to watch me do the show live and talk to me while I'm doing the show, come join the chat at twitch.tv/garagedooropener with an O, so GARAGEDOOROPENER, and have a blast. So that's it for this week. Follow me on Twitter for updates at GDOpener, GDOPENER, and with the @ sign before it because that's the way Twitter works. Or if you don't want to message me on any sort of social media, you can always email me with questions to answer on the show, or just things you want to talk about privately at thegdoshow@gmail.com, thegdoshow@gmail.com. So that's it for this week. I am out, and have a good week, y'all.